And it was happening. Welcome to another episode of Hope. We got a fire class tonight. We got lots of jewels, lots of game to drop. Excited to teach this class. We had that 2-week layover. I was down bad last week. I was in bed for 2 weeks with COVID. So I hope nobody got sick over the last couple of weeks. If you did, it was my fault. I'm just going to take full radical responsibility for it. But we back. So title of the class is called Compounding. So if you don't know much about compounding and how it works, you're going to be in for a treat, because that is one of the tools that a lot of folks in our culture don't even know how it works, or they don't even know about it. So, yeah. Let's get it cracking. First slide.
You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems.
Okay. So, and just know this, every slide is going to be fire. So, understand that there's no wasted slides here. So, if you have questions about it, or if it doesn't go deep enough, let us know. Ask. So most of the time we think about goal setting, right? Goal setting. I got a goal. I want to make this particular thing happen. And there's various ways people go about hitting those targets or reaching those goals. It starts with some folks just praying, and that's it, right? Praying and hoping that something happens. But technically, your goals happen when you create systems that put yourself on the rhythm or the frequency or the vibration of those goals, period. So if you work backwards from the goal, the question you ask yourself is, what type of rhythm does a person who achieves these goals have? And you build your systems from there. So you don't float up into our goals. That's luck. That's Willy Wonka effect. It's when you systemize your goals to where first off, the attitude that you have is savagery. Like, I'm going to get this. This is going to happen. I'm going to make this happen. But it's not luck. You're systemizing how you attack and reach your goals. So I'm gonna give a couple examples. One is a stupid basic example, but I had a friend who used to train my sons basketball. His name was Coach Joe, popular coach around Oakland. He's in Allendale Park. He does a lot of good stuff for kids, free training, food. You never hungry over there, but because he just loved the kids. But when they used to play, he would tell them, do not look at the score. Do not pay attention to the score. And he wouldn't even mind the score. He turned his back on the score, because he said, if we're doing what we're supposed to do in practice and you're doing what you're supposed to do at home, then the score is going to take care of itself. We're going to win the game. And so that's the same thing in terms of your goals. You got a score you want to hit. You got a target you want to go. Work backwards and build the systems. Build the systems. And the systems over time will take you to your goal. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. This is the realest shit I ever wrote. And a lot of times, like growing up, no one's taught us this. No one. Nobody taught us that this was part of the formula. Another example is this. Boxers have to practice this the most, because when you get punched in the fucking face, all that fancy shit goes away. You immediately go into fight, flight, or freeze mode. But you also go into the patterns of your practice, what you practice most. You revert back to what you practice most. In those times where you're jolted, you get punched in the stomach, the air comes out of you, your IQ drops, so you stop thinking. You stop thinking 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2. Okay, if I do that, all that shit go out the window. You revert back to what you practice. So that's why in practice, they put you through a lot of pain. They punch you a lot because they want you to get comfortable with getting hit while still maintaining the rhythm of doing what you're taught to do. Entrepreneurship is no different. Success, no different. Success, no different. So your systems allow you to deal with failure. Your systems allow you to deal with rejection. So if you have a current system that's running right now that says, anytime somebody says no to me or reject me, then I'm going to distract myself with social media. I'm going to go smoke a cigarette. I'm going to go smoke a blunt. I'm going to go have sex. I'm going to go do something that makes me forget that I just got rejected. That's already programmed in you. Then every time you get rejection, you're going to do that. That's your system currently. Then you wonder why, damn, I got 24 hours, they got 24 hours, but why they 24 look different than mine? It's because you have a system that distracts you, that takes you 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours to get back on track. Because you do that, you feel good in the moment, and you feel like shit, then you're like, I got to get my shit together. Then tomorrow's a new day. You wake up, and now you back on line, and then somebody rejects you again. Now you just seesawing to the level of rejection. And that is your system. But if you practice a different system, let's say every time somebody rejects me, I'm going to write in my journal. Every time somebody rejects me, I'm going to call a friend. Every time I write in my journal, I'm going to go do research. You create a new system that's a success cycle now. Every time somebody tells me no, I'm going to figure out how I can get better. And you create that and you embed that into your system. Now you killing now the rhythms and the patterns of you have changed. It's a cold game. Like, and I just threw a rejection thing because that's something that I used to have to deal with. But imagine how many there are out there that are designed to distract the fuck out of you. Next. Go ahead, Shibi.
One of the things that I notice in certain areas is like a freeze after something happens. So I'm thinking about the example you just used about somebody rejects you, you write in your journal, something bad happened. Like you develop better responses, right? You develop better responses that are going to get you back online. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I notice is, well, the question I have is, in the moments where you're freezing or where I'm freezing, where I'm not totally conscious that I'm falling offline. So how have you addressed those moments where, if I'm thinking of it and if I'm conscious of it, I feel really good about that. Mm-hmm. It's the point where I'm having a freeze response that I find it harder. And so my question is, how have you addressed those moments where you kind of go blank almost, where you it's like you lose, you freeze. It's not, I'm not totally conscious of it.
That's a great one. I'm good at, I got lots of experience on the freeze. Lots of experience on the freeze. Lots of fucking, damn, I fucked that up. Like, what? Absolute lots of experience on the freeze. So I don't know the scope of what works, but I'll tell you what's worked for me is that it is a super small muscle. So remember, there's a space between stimulus and response, right? We all know this. Mm-hmm. There's stimulus and response. So when you are in a freeze, the stimulus has caused a disconnect to the response. So now you are looking around like, well, what do? I don't know what to do. I'm here. I'm stuck. Mm-hmm. What it is you have to develop a little muscle inside of you. That little muscle is a voice. That's a conscious voice that reasons with you. That says, what is the best move in this moment? And that voice is real low and real dim. And over time, you have to learn how to listen to that voice and make it louder within you. And that's what the freeze will never go away. It's you manually insert a stimulus piece in there to say that self-talk that tells you what to do, what the next move is, what are we doing next, what's the best move in this situation. Because it's a shock. You know, if you ever like you got flies in your house and you got a towel and you whip one and you think you killed it and you're on the ground, you go to grab something, you come back and it's gone. Like, that motherfucker wasn't dead. It was just shocked, right? Mm-hmm. It needed time for his machine to start back up so it can process, hey, we got to get out of here. So the freeze is you have to develop a little voice in your head and build it up. And it takes time. It could take years, but that's because it took years to get to that, to be a freezer. Mm-hmm. To get really good at freezing, it took years because it takes practice. And your body says this works.
Sure. When
you freeze and you didn't die, your brain says, hey, that worked. We're going to do that again. Mm-hmm. Not realizing you just messed up a deal, mm-hmm. or you messed up your chance to get at somebody that you was really attracted to, mm-hmm. or you messed up your chance to market yourself, whatever. Mm-hmm. So it's the small voice that manually pushes you to go do it, and it takes that courage. I'll tell you this too. This is some real shit. Is when we talking about falling to the level of our systems, this is the dangerous thing in our culture. Is you can also trade that word for heuristics. And our heuristics as a culture, mm-hmm. is our book of GP, general principles, right? As black folks, we got a book, invisible book of all these general principles. And as the lowest culture in society, the most damaged, I'll just say the most damaged culture in society, our book of general principles are fucked up. They're not good. They have us doing wild shit, flashing on people, being emotional, going off on somebody, doing whatever, being with the shit, all the full spectrum of things that are dangerous for us to behave. That's part of our culture as normal. So when stimulus happens, we usually fall to the level of our cultural heuristics, mm-hmm. which puts us in danger of being successful every time. Every time. No matter how successful we get, no matter how many millions we make, like, I always think about bail money in case I'd flash on somebody or do some shit. Like, hey, for my daughter, like I squared up, but for my daughter though, I'll go to jail for somebody. Like, there's always a part of you that still will fall to the level of how you was raised. And that's that. I hate Josh, what you say?
Really, Josh. Yeah.
So we got to understand that some of it is also deprogramming what our actual systems are. We got to go in manual mode a lot mm-hmm. when it comes to this. Because what good is even reaching your goals that if there are times when you will fall to the level of your systems, mm-hmm. which is your heuristics that your culture created for you. That's the most damaging culture in society. Mm-hmm. It's deep shit to think about. We'll go there another day. Next slide. System 1 and System 2 thinking. So a couple weeks ago, as a refresher, you guys remember what System 1 is and System 2 is. The goal at all times, the goal is to make sure that our system 2 thinking can influence our system 1. So remember, your system 2 is your calculating mechanism. It knows it can calculate 4,300 times 972. That's your system 2. System 1, 1 plus 1. 1 plus 1. It got all the songs that you memorized in your head. It knows exactly how much time you got when the yellow light is there and you're trying to make it through. Like it has all the quick calculations. System 2 has all your deep thoughts, your strategy, how you put plans together, and how you sit back and reason and calculate whether or not something is a good move, smart move, or not. Most of us operate in our system 1. Our heuristics is in our system 1. Our systems is in our system 1. You got problems scrolling on Instagram or doing, like, that's all system 1 behavior. Because system 2 knows you got a meeting. System 2 knows you got important stuff you got to do. And it'll sometimes creep up and tell you, hey, you know you got to do so-and-so. But your system 1, your systems is so you practice it so much it becomes repetition for you. So the goal, manual mode. This entrepreneurship ain't easy like that. Like, we got to reprogram ourselves. And the reprogramming, it takes a lot of manual effort, failure, trials and errors to undo all the shit that was done. Questions on system 1 and system 2. Next slide. Now, this is how you program your system 1. Repetition. Repetition, the same type of repetition that creates habits for you now, good and bad, is the same type of repetition you need to program your system 1. So if you want to build something like, you want to create a program called Go to the Gym Every Day. And your system 2 steps back and says, hey, all right, so based on my schedule, I think the best time to go is this time. It's a perfect window for me. I can get back home, take a shower, go to work, start my day. I'm a night person or morning person. Your system 2 is coming up with a strategy on what best suits you. 8:32 in the morning is the best time. Next day hits, you wake up, that system 1, that alarm goes off. Your system 1 is doing the work. And you're like, I'm tired. I'm going back to bed. I had a long night, because no, it really don't count because I didn't really say today. System 1 start coming up with all kind of bullshit. Mm-hmm. Right? So it takes so that means that muscle is really small in the moment. It's small. So how you build it is by going. I don't care you have to say, I don't care what happens tomorrow. I don't give a shit what happens. At 8:32, I'm going to be inside that gym. Because this is what I need to build this muscle to over time. That gym is, I don't even think about gym. It's embedded and ingrained in my system. Once it gets in the system, it gets easier. Mm-hmm. You don't go to the gym, you tripping. Like, what? Mm-hmm. Crackhead, I'm tripping. But it takes repetition, continuous repetition to get there. And what is it? Is it will? Is it force? Is it power? It's all of them. You got to know how to use them, though. You got to know what shelf life each one has. Will get you there 2 days, maybe 3. Then what? You better have a purpose. What if you have a purpose? What if you say, I want to be here for my kids. Or I have a big dream, and in order to accomplish my big dream, I got to be healthy. I got to be my healthiest. So what good is getting rich if my body fucked up? Don't make no sense. So I have to put just as much effort in making sure I'm my best as I do in generating revenue and making wealth. So purpose is strong, but sometimes your purpose, you forget your purpose. You need to pull out some shit. I done threw my phone one time. Stew it. It's the devil. I'll get a new phone, but you're not messing my streak up. And I really want to look at this. And just from the moment I got strong enough, I threw that motherfucker. Like, do you do what you got to do? But because you're building, it's the building blocks of building a system. I remember years ago I found forget the name of it. Maybe it's called Asian efficiency or something like that. It was but it literally will delete the apps off your phone for certain periods of time. I've done that before. And like there's like passwords that you can put another password to say if you weak and you put the password, here's a second password that you can't even still get in. I've done that. That's helped over time. So you literally do whatever you got to do. If you got a problem with food, like eating, like if it's health, food, diabetes, there's certain health risks that you can have that's important. It's super important. What are you going to do to make it happen? Whatever you got to do. Whatever you got to do. Throw it in the garbage. Throw it in the garbage. Throw it in the garbage. Sprinkle it with cruise water. That's right. Yeah. That'll make it. Some of y'all be peeling the edges off like this part didn't get none on it. Yeah. So repetition. So, and none of this is rocket science. None of it is, it's not calculus or algebra. Like, why would it be that confusing? It's not. But it's hard. It is hard, but it's not confusing. You can consciously wrap your mind around how to do it. It's a matter of doing it. And it starts with, and we're going to talk more about it, of the how, but the key is repetition. And now the question is, how do I maintain or how do I build repetition in what I want to do to build those systems? So let's keep going.
You can spend a lifetime being anchored in the wrong details.
This is just a reminder from a couple classes ago. You can waste a lifetime being anchored in the wrong details. We got plenty of partners who was passionate about what they wanted and wanted it bad and worked hard for it and was super detailed about it and still didn't make it. And that is because a lot of times we're married to a specific way of how we gonna get there. When getting there, an opportunity to get there was right here, but we wanted to do it this way. And the game will punish you for that, meaning it don't give a fuck. You'll die on the vine standing right next to the way. Because that's the way the universe works and the game works. You can call it, replace that word with whatever you want. So that's why the book Emotional Agility that we're on this time is so poignant, is because we have to learn how to be agile, not just and lose our egos to allow ourselves to accept the way, not our way. The way. So I think that's some of the most heartbreaking to me is to witness, is to watch people that I grew up with or just over time or even myself waste years because my ego tells me I want it this way. And if I don't get it this way, I don't want it. Come on, blood. Mm-hmm. Come on. Like, and you talented as hell, like stupid talented, crazy talented, amazingly talented. Next slide.
Find the way by playing the results game instead of the games that make you feel validated.
That's anti-social justice.
That's it. You find the way. You find the way. What they call being an advantage player in craps, right, is because you learn certain systems and formulas of how to have a slight edge on the house, right? And once you learn that, you can go to a crap table and watch everybody around them. They playing the emotion game. Give me a 7. Give me a this. Oh, I'm feeling hot. That's all bullshit. It's statistics. It's numbers. It's math. There ain't no emotion tied to it. But because the game is set up to make you feel something, it becomes normalized. And then when it becomes normalized, you create a system, a heuristics. So if you are an advantage player, more than likely you irritate everybody, including the dealer. Because you're not supposed to be pulling back like that because you messing up the flow of the game. Fuck the flow of the game. I'm here to make money. But even the dealer will be like, man, come on, man. You messing up the flow of the game. Come on. The people next to you, oh, here he go again, stopping shit. Because there's a system that the regular people have that only works about 5 to 6% of the time. And then when it works, everybody wins. And it's a fun thing, and that's what, if you ever been in, you hear the laughter and the joy and all that shit. That's 5% of the time. I don't fuck 5% of the time. If you're an advantage player where you're winning 60% of the time, 55% of the time the table hates you. And that's the same. That I don't want to be validated. I don't want to high five none of y'all. You know why? I'm gonna never see none of y'all again. I'll never see you again. You either. I want to find the way that works and stick to it, and I may feel unvalidated for an hour, but I won. I walk home, I'm happy. That's what this business shit. A lot of times the winning way don't feel good, don't feel validated. And I've seen people chase respect more than they chase money.
Our status.
Chase status more than they chase the success of it. I want Oakland to love me. I want Oakland to love me. I love Oakland. I want Oakland to love me the way I love Oakland back.
Bruh.
What if Oakland don't love you like that? What if Oakland don't love you like that? Are you going to spend the rest of your life disregarding how to become a successful business person and chasing the love of you? Sometimes you could do everything right and Oakland ain't fucking with you. We chased out Too Short one time.
We did. We did.
We laughed at MC Hammer. We roasted MC Hammer. It took years to get that for that to come back. People forget that easily. Because we a damaged culture. Let's not forget that. We all a damaged culture. So in the end, who wins? The people who have the success, the most power. So that you have to be conscious about that shit. And we'll feel validated, go through life getting validated, validation, pats on the back, and be broke as fuck in the end.
Oh man, normal.
Don't have nothing to show for it. Man, back when I had my pager, you feel me? Like, I was that dude. I used to flip my hat up like that. But I'm telling you, the people that's getting rich off of our culture right now, they are playing they're playing the way game, not my way game. Next slide.
Never forget that most of your drama comes from your desire to be right.
We ain't wasting no slides. We ain't wasting no slides.
Shots fired.
It's a battle rapper. Never mind. Now, here's the deal. A lot of our suffering comes from our desire to be right. We're fighting. We've probably in this room cumulatively have spent tens, hundreds of years on just arguing about being right and get nothing from it. So once we release the desire to want to be right and then replace that with the desire to want to win, I want to win the game. The hue of the world changes. The color of the world changes. Forget being right. I could be wrong and be rich. I could be wrong and be wealthy. I could be wrong and win. I can apologize and be super successful. Like our desire to want to be right all the time comes from our desire to want respect all the time because of our lack of respect as a culture. So if we don't feel respected as a culture, that means we have a lack of self-love. So we need validation and respect from the outside world. Have you ever been around somebody who don't give a fuck what you think? Because they got, like, I'm good. Yeah. My bank good, my life good, my family good, I'm good. What you say means nothing to me. Like, so that is a culture, that is a switch we have to make. That takes time. I ain't there yet completely either. Even knowing it, I'm still working it. But once you start working it, you'll realize, like, I don't need this. I don't need this. And you'll engage in kind of a debate with somebody, and you'll realize it's going down a right and wrong path, and you're like, you got it, cuz. Like, yep, could be that. Or maybe not. Who knows? Life changes once you enter into that space of, I'm looking for the winning formula, not the right formula. It's a big difference. Any questions on that?
Let me get a little some of that.
Yeah.
When you practice being right, you also practice perspective blindness. Mm-hmm. So you only see your perspective. But the reality is that your perspective is one of millions. So when you're trying to serve the world or have large impact, and you over leveraging your perspective, you're shutting out the way the world works. So what you're willing to do is you're willing to exchange your feelings of what is right for actual knowledge and wisdom itself. So a lot of people there's a lot of articulate people who are always seeking to be right, who are actually fools. Because, like, for example, matter of fact, if you're amongst people who are performing, I have some really big clients, and I have a lot of people in my life that are high performers. We're all starting the conversation off with, I don't know much. And we're curious. The whole dialogue is, we're circling the bandwagon of curiosity, right? But when I'm around people who don't feel like they're good enough and they feel less of themselves, then sometimes feeling right is a statement of their personal value. And so quite often you got to get to the point where you got to separate your value from being right. Mm-hmm. Like if somebody comes to you and say, hey, you ever heard about the engine that's inside of a rocket? Someone's like, yeah, I heard about it. No, the fuck you haven't. Literally say to yourself, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Matter of fact, if you ever talk to me and you get into a space, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. My daughter is a queen. Now, my daughter even says to me all the time, like, Dad, I don't know what that means. I don't even know what that means. And what that does is you accelerate the learning process. And so a lot of times we're so busy trying, or this is another example. Have you ever been in a conversation with somebody and they'll tell you something that's impressive and then you rush to tell them something impressive? It's the same thing.
Right.
Like you say you're sitting in the space and going, tell me more about that. Oh, where can I learn more about that? I have more interest in that. You can't wait. Yeah, well, what I've heard actually is, and before you know it, you're the same fool that the person approached 30 minutes ago. You didn't learn anything. So this thing about being right is really attached to black people not feeling like we're good enough.
Fire. Next slide. Danielle.
There's no promise the world cares about your mission.
Okay, so in a nutshell, I'm gonna tell you a turning point in my life. I've had mentors in my life for a long time. I didn't really get a real, I'll say, I didn't get the next level mentor till about 2008 or 9, right? And the turning point in my life came when he said, in the lowest point in my life, I'm talking no place to stay, no car, no bread, no nothing. Where I needed the most reassurance and like pat on my back and like some kind of emotional hug. You know what he said? Court, nobody gives a fuck about you. Nobody. And ain't nobody coming to save you. Nobody. So if you want to lay down and curl up and die, go ahead. Because guess what? Eventually, the world's going to move on super quick. So if you want, you're here to add value to this world, period. You're here to add value. So if what you want, you have to give. But I'm telling you, this laying down, woe is me stuff, is so what? You'll be gone and that's it. So you have to understand something. As an entrepreneur, nobody cares. Nobody's running towards you. That's why we don't jump on the hype of like, help. These people helping, because that's short-lived and it's empty.
Distortions.
And as entrepreneurs, we add value. And this changed my life. Wait, nobody's coming? Nobody's coming to save? Nobody's coming for me? Nope. If you want something, you got to go get it. Period. Got to go after it. And just the mentality of that can change the trajectory of where we're going. Like we said, well, what about all these grants and all these things, people giving money? And we said, if you find money on the ground, pick that shit up. Pick it up. But you spending 40 hours a week chasing this, that, the other, you're not entrepreneuring. Mm-hmm. You're looking for some new captain to save you. And that ain't the business. That's not our business. So once you switch out of that mentality into this, to where like, oh, I was put here. I believe I was put here by a higher source for a reason. Then I gotta make that reason happen. I got a mission. But I can't walk up to people and be like, do you know my mission? Bow down to my mission. Like, oh, you're the one with the mission. Man, ain't nobody give a fuck about your mission. Come on. And that can be a huge shift for some. Up until that point, I didn't even know that existed in life. It was a complete culture shock. And then I start gathering more friends who thought like that. And that's what helped me. If you have friends who are subsidizing your weaknesses and your fear and, oh, come on, then you're like the cocoon that can't turn into the butterfly because they keep peeling off the cocoon. Mm-hmm. Struggle, pain, hurt, all that shit is what makes you strong. Mm-hmm. Next slide.
Nature favors evolution, not revolution.
Okay, so now we get into the meat of the book. Emotional agility. Here's another thing. Well, go ahead and finish reading because I'm gonna say it.
Studies from many different fields have demonstrated that small shifts over time can dramatically enhance our ability to thrive. The most effective way to transform your life, therefore, is not by quitting your job and moving to an ashram, but, to paraphrase Teddy Roosevelt, by doing what you can with what you have where you are.
100%.
Hey, so I want to lose weight, so I'm just going to throw everything in the garbage. I'm just not going to eat. Or I just learned some shit at Hope and my friends is all fucked up, so fuck all y'all. I'm not kicking it with y'all no more.
Fatality.
Like, we come up with these extreme ways. A lot of times we want to revolt. We want a revolution. We want a complete change because that complete change feels good to us. I want to be an entrepreneur, so you walk into your job and be like, I'm out. Wait, what? Like, you ain't save no money? You ain't... I got it. My dreams, my passions go carry me. All right. You see how far that go. Like, a lot of times the revolution part feels good because it's dramatic. We don't, the little small incremental changes don't feel strong enough for us. Feels kind of like I didn't do much today, but in actuality, that is the way. The most effective way to transform your life, and this dude's gonna talk about it more later.
I hate you so
I know, blood. Like, it's gonna work. It's gonna coincide. But that's how we become effective. It's no way you can have that dramatic of a change by jumping off cliffs. You don't have enough resilience to continue to jump off cliffs. I've been a crazy entrepreneur for 24 years. I've jumped off some cliffs. And believe me, that shit is not like the recovery time from a cliff jump when your parachute don't work. It ain't a good look.
Fatality.
You look dry around the mouth. You look whooped. It takes years to recover from that. So the best way is always incremental, 1% at a time, small percentages at a time. We did not get here by a revolution. We got here by one sale at a time that doubled into 2 and doubled into 4. And then 9 months later, you were a baby. Like, compound interest is the key to your growth and your change. It's not throwing it away in a garbage can. Slow, incremental changes. It allows the body, the mind, and the spirit to acclimate itself to new changes and new systems. Next slide.
Progress, peaks, and plateaus.
Okay, so ideally in your mind, what does progress look like to you? What does progress look like to you? Anybody?
Grab the microphone.
I mean, like, I feel like to capitalize off the last slide, it would just be forward movement, like the ability to like be further ahead towards a goal or a longer way on a system. Or
Forward movement. Okay. Anybody else? No? Yes?
That I'm further along than I was last year. Like, there's been like that I can look at last year and say like I moved this to last year.
Further along, forward movement, further along than last year. They said both the things you're going to say. Can progress mean being 5% worse than you were last year?
It can.
Can.
I think that progress can just simply mean change, because I feel like we have the tendency to demonize failures, not realizing that like a lot of our successes come from learning from our failures. And like you realize that something's not working in your business because you had the opportunity to fail and then you chose to fail forward. So I feel like just opening up the opportunity to explore change in general, good or bad.
Okay, so let's paint the picture. You have a goal. You have a goal, right? Whatever that goal is. See, when I say the word goal, I start getting all fired up and shit. Let me calm down. You got a goal, right? Then there's you. So progress is something is forward movement. Forward movement meaning start here and we move in increments forward. What progress can also mean is you can go take 5 steps forward, fall. Takes you 2 months to recover. Get back up. You got to start at the beginning. Go again. Take 10 steps forward. Get on a hype cycle. Takes you 20 steps forward overnight. You break a leg. Fuck, you back out again. You 15 steps back. But those failures along the way also did things to you. It gave you knowledge about, hey, when you get to step 10, you better jump because there's a pothole there. I can't even see the pothole. I know. I know. Hey, so family. Where they come from? They just snuck in like some ninjas and shit. And it's like, yo, how did you know? There's certain things you don't know until you experience it. Take 5 steps forward and just hit the left. I know it doesn't look like nothing, but hit a left. Over time, those failures become wormholes for you. Those falls made you tougher. It helped you deal with rejection and failure, and so progress is not linear. Progress is not linear.
Much is not linear.
It's all over the place. Now, here's the deal. If you can learn from that failure piece, if you can learn from that part of failure, it's not failure, it's actually part of progress. It's part of progress. Hey, Mashama 1 and Mashama 2. That's what's up. You see what I'm saying? Let's wipe out the idea that progress is linear. It's not. It's not. Because there will be times where you have major setbacks, and depression can set in the major setbacks if your brain is wired to progress being linear. I was trying to hit 4 plates. Trying to go for 4 plates. I'm trying to hit 4 plates before it's over for me. So I'm 365. Fuck. Right? Now I gotta sit down. But if I sit down, I'm like, man, see, I'm trying to do right by myself, and look what happened. Like, you can start coming up with all kind of dangerous, depressive things that can make you like, why am I working out anyway? Like, but guess what? If you understand that that's part of the game, what else can I do? I'm not gonna miss no workouts. Legs, shoulders, and I'm gonna do really light what I can until it's time to heal. And then you never know what happens in that tear. It may come back stronger and give me the actual tools that I need to lift that heavy weight. You never know. So let's take away the thought that progress is linear. It's not. It's not. You may lose. You may lose everything. Y'all know this. I say I've been a millionaire twice. I had to have lost it at some point. But at this stage of the business, I skipped over so many potholes. Just on, nope, I've been there before. Don't do that. Come here. Get over here. That ain't it. Nope. We're not doing that. And they're like, how do you know? Man, come on. Let me show you the scar. Want to see this? So it actually becomes a strength. Becomes a strength. Losing everything has been a strength. So what about plateaus? Have you ever had a goal to where, say I want to lose weight, and at the beginning, man, you getting on the scale, you dropping weight, and you're doing the same thing, but that weight ain't changing no more. It's called a plateau. Is it really a plateau? It's still progress. It's still progress. But it's the kind of progress that gives you the opportunity to learn. What am I? Let me do some research. Let me learn. It's still progress. In your brain is doing 1 + 1 = 2 math. And that's not how this progress game works. Because there's things underneath the surface that's also happening. Your body also adjusts to things. So maybe your workouts is too stagnant. It's not active enough. There's so many other things that helps you learn now to give you a wider scope of how this weight thing works. It's not just doing your 10 minutes on the treadmill. Oh, let me switch it up. Let me do this. Let me add this to it. And that comes from experience. Some of us, we like the intro excitement, which means I want to learn a new sport. That ramp up from 0 to about a B is the funnest feeling ever. 0 to a B is the funnest feeling ever. Look at you. Oh, you're a fast learner. Oh, you're so good. Oh, and yep, look at me. I'm getting good. Then once you get to that B and you're putting in that same work, you're a B. And you're like, what? You're working hard and you continue, and you're a B. Wait, I'm going to double up on my practice. You're a B. Guess what a lot of people do? They quit and find the next thing. And they go 0 to a B in all these different motherfucking things where in order to be a pro, to be successful, to generate revenue, you got to be an A. But we're not getting the validation and it don't feel good. I don't feel the process. But you don't know that you're going B, you're going 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 3.4. You don't realize that that's happening because you're just looking at B. That's what this entrepreneurship shit is about a lot of times, is the point numbers. Still progress, but it's the point. Some stages of entrepreneurship, you get to the point numbers or the 0 something numbers. And if you on A, B, C, like shit. There's times where you may be stuck 3 years or something. 3 years, what is going on? How come I can't? I didn't try everything. No, you didn't. So, that's a plateau. Now, peak. We love the peaks. It's a hype cycle. Who knows about the hype cycle? Who want to talk about what a hype cycle is? Shakina, Shabisha, go ahead.
I've been talking a lot. You go. I have more stuff to say.
A hype cycle is essentially where a mass amount of people catch on to your business and you pretty much blow up overnight. You're like the it thing business or whatever. And you grow so fast that you don't have enough bearings to sustain the growth. And then when somebody finds the next shiny thing, you've built this fake momentum on thinking that you're further along than you are, and then you tend to have an aggressive fall.
Ooh, shit. Don't say that to me, Shakina. That ain't cool. You want more?
So an example of that could be if you expanded your capacity in the last 2 or 3 years during the pandemic, assuming that would continue.
Uh-oh.
And once on the other side of the pandemic, it contracted or normalized or rebalanced back to prior levels, and now you have all this excess capacity, but you don't have demand for it. So that could be an example. Or like the number of black brands, I know I'm always going to talk about this, black brands that like invested all of this product thinking that you were going to get on the shelf, and now they're not putting new brands on the shelf, but you've invested money because you didn't validate it, right? So there's a hype cycle. You just were trying to get in on the wave, and now the wave has moved on. So those are like two real examples of like hype cycles.
So let's talk about it. So say, what do you think is better? Maybe you say you have money to invest into two companies. You had to invest in one. Person number one, company number one. Within 18 months of them being in existence, less than 18 months, 8 months of being in existence, they blew up. She DM'd Keith Lee. Keith Lee came to the town. Man, ate the food, said it was a 9 out of 10. Lines out the door. Lines down the street. Right now. Company number two. When they opened, crickets. Nobody showed up. Reviews weren't that good. Almost went out of business. Figured out a way to stay in business. Improved by learning from people who were really doing it. And over time, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, they built a solid customer base. They don't got 100,000 followers on Instagram. They don't got a blue check, but they built a business that is sustainable over time and that is showing slow growth. Who would you invest in?
Number two, because oftentimes when you get caught on a hype cycle, you think like you've arrived, like you're that person. And so even if you do by chance get lucky, because we all have had hype cycles, some bigger than others, but you get lucky and you catch a hype cycle, if you don't have the systems in place for growth, if you don't have the mindset to be able to grow through your hurdles that you're going to face as you grow, because it's going to be a lot of growing pains, and if you don't understand how to take feedback, which you probably are not going to be able to if you're an 8-month-old business, everything is personalized, then I can't trust you with my money because you're making everything about you and your success and how you did it, and not about how you overcame and got humbled and worked on yourself and figured things out. Like, so much of the beauty of entrepreneurship is the falls, because that's what makes you a dope business owner, is like the character that it builds. So
Come on, blood. Come on,
one
blood.
small thing.
That's heat. Real talk.
Let me add also progress distortion. So in the hype cycle, you have this super fast progress. So the progress is designed to slow down, but you're still in the positive and rate for growth. But because you got used to that other rhythm, you've designed your whole business to match the hype cycle, not preparing you for the slow cycle, which is true business.
When you ask them, where are the potholes, they can't tell you.
Thank you for bringing that up, because one of the things, it's not a counterpunch, but I wanted to kind of slow it down a little bit, because in a hype cycle, it's really complex to be able to see the difference between I think my opinion is that part of the thing with the hype cycle is that it's very difficult it's a very complex moment. There are a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of things in there, and it's very difficult to distill noise from what's real if you don't have tools like y'all teaching here, right? So let's be honest, the world got hit by a hype cycle. It wasn't like the good people versus the bad people, or the people who had, right? It simply came down to like, do you have the tools to be able to navigate or not? And so I say that, one, to like raise the value of what we're learning here, because the world got hit by a hype cycle. It wasn't just Black entrepreneurs that made a lot of missteps. There were lots of articles going around how companies were unsure about what where to place their bets because they were needing to position themselves for the future. And everybody's looking at China or looking at the U.S. trying to see what people were doing because nobody knew what to do. And so, again, just to underscore like the value of the tools, because it's a the hype cycle that we all just went through was global, and to pretend like everybody knew how to do it, or that like you can pre-know how to do, I think hope in here we learn a lot of tools that most business people, whether they be small businesses or big businesses, don't engage in that way. It's a really complex thing to be going through, which is why so many people fall because of it. So I want it to not come off as a moral thing.
Yeah, it's not. It's understanding that the experience that you face, the hardships that we've all faced in business, are categories of tools that we have to help us be a better business person. Man, my first million, I was tripping. I was on a couch at Air Lounge in my pajamas with all the gold on. You couldn't tell me nothing. You couldn't tell me nothing. I'm dead. You couldn't tell me nothing. I can get in. I know I could get in. My pajamas. So imagine me not knowing where the potholes are. Just because I wanted to. Just because I could. I don't know where the potholes are. There was people out, now in hindsight, there's people that was on the outside that saw the potholes and was like, I'm not even going to say nothing. Why? Because I'm not going to sit here and argue with Courtney for like 30 minutes. Because he know it all. Mm-hmm. He know it all. He know it all. You don't know me. You ain't been what I've been through. So guess what? Everybody stopped saying nothing and they just sat back and watched. Boom! I didn't know where the potholes were. And I didn't have the ears to listen. Ego. That's what a hype cycle will do. Mm-hmm. So you got to understand when things are really good, you stay stoic. You are calculating at all times, figuring out where is this coming from? Why? What can I do? You're not spending crazy because you know you're in a hype cycle. When you know you're in a hype cycle, that, hey, this is going to end soon, then you're going to spend different. Mm-hmm. Away, I'm putting that away, putting that away, putting that away. I'm investing in my business and in the growth, but I'm putting that away. I'm being smart about strategy. What's next? What can I do better? Why is this happening? Can I sample this somewhere else? Can I A and B test this somewhere else? And then when the hype cycle dies, the world ain't over. Mm-hmm. Your work begins. Here's the last thing we move on. It's easy to mask bad systems with lots of money. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When the sales are pouring in, it's easy to mask bad system and a bad business. Because y'all so busy, we did it, that it's like if you win in a basketball game 100-57, but y'all played like shit, but you still won by that much, only a really good coach is gonna call you out. Mm-hmm. Man, I don't give a fuck. Y'all played like shit. What? But we won by. I don't care what you won by. Mm-hmm. You didn't run a play. You were slacking off. You were shooting where you weren't supposed. Damn, I can't do nothing right. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. But that's actually excellent mindset. Mm-hmm. What can I do to get better even within the hype cycle? The work starts after the hype cycle. Because another hype cycle is coming. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's peaks. So peaks is also part of progress because you got through. Now you know how to deal with a hype cycle. You can calm your team down. No, not stop. Stop it. Don't do that. But chill. You know what I'm saying? Like now you have the experience to calm your team down, to keep them level-headed when you are entering to hype cycle. You also know how to motivate your team when they feel stuck or at a plateau. And you know that it's all progress.
I was just going to say also, too, like, I think that in the entrepreneur world, hype cycles can be misinterpreted as like negative things when you're talking about it, when you're trying to prepare yourself for it. But I think that there's a beauty to them if you're watching patterns, because I noticed in my industry that we would have like high revenue cycles, which are like hype cycles for gyms. You'd have high registration during summer, you'd have high registration during New Year's. And then during the holidays, like gym sales would plummet. And it happened like 3 years in a row, but I wasn't paying attention to it.
So you thought you was like, oh, we rich.
Yeah,
We poor.
so like, no, real talk. And like, I had a whole brick and mortar, and I had like real expensive bills. And it wasn't until year 3 when I was like, oh my God, is this the second year in a row I almost closed because I wasn't paying attention to industry trends. And then it became like such a high value, because then it started changing the way that I thought about positioning myself for hype cycles and how to take advantage of them, knowing that they were short-sighted, and then I could figure out how to maximize them, as opposed to the almost like, oh, I got lucky, I came up. It was like, all right, statistically, this is the season that people want to part with their money to invest in their health. How do I maximize my dollars? Where do I put my money? Where do I position my team? What services are we investing in? And then do we get high enrollment during those peak seasons of the first quarter of the year and the second quarter of the year, so that it can pull us through that holiday season? Now I'm fully aware that they're hype cycles and people have these superficial goals, but we're working on changing mindset so that people can transition. And so I just think that there's like a secret sauce almost to not thinking of it as like good or bad, but it's a tool that you can leverage to say, hey, know that that's what you're in, and then use it to your advantage.
Bet. Next slide. The progress peaks and plateaus. Dope is a dope way to think. It's a way to integrate that mindset into how you move and how you think, so that you know wherever you are, you know how to respond, the best way to respond. Next slide.
1% kills plateaus. Move the needle a tiny bit.
Yeah. The power of tiny numbers. 1%. That's all you need is 1%. All you need is 1%. Once you improve and increase and get better, 1%, you just killed the plateau. You just killed it. And what that does to your psychology, what that does to you psychologically, it gives you the motivation to keep doing it. All you're looking for most of the time is 1%. You just killed your plateau. Goes back to compound interest. Imagine if you improved 1% a week, not just a day. You improved 1% a week. Doesn't matter what room you walk in. Like, my philosophy has always been that. I'm a progressive, which means I don't give a shit where I stand in any room. I can walk in a room and be last place with a big ass smile on my face, because I believe in that 1% rule. But I'm just looking for 1%. Got it. Oh, got it. Oh, I see how he got it. And they could be laughing, because you're going to look like an idiot for a long time. If you had 0%, you're going to look weak for a long time, but you're just grasping the 1%. And over time, that compounds over time. Because if you know anything about interest, if you have $10 and you get 1% interest, now you have how many?
$10.10.
$10.10. But now that next 1%, you get interest on the $10.10, not just 10. And that's what continues to compound. So all you're looking for is just 1% everywhere. That takes the pressure off to jump off cliffs and to wake up buff or wake up your ideal self. Just 1%. 1%. It's 1%. And I guarantee you, like that thought is going to change you, especially when you come in a moment. Say if anybody hit a rock bottom. Have anybody ever hit rock bottom? That shit is not a good feeling, boy. Sheesh. And rock bottom to where you need to be is such a frustrating thing, right? Because I know I can be here because I've been here. I lived here. And you think you can just jump back up here. And when it don't work, more depressed, more frustrated. Don't work, more depressed. So you chasing to like, let me just get back to where I was. God, let me just get back to where I was. And that don't work. You just looking 1%. Let me just get 1% towards that goal. Now let me get 2. Let me get 3. That is the secret sauce. If there is a secret sauce about anything mysterious, magic, whatever you want to call it, universe, God, that is it. The power of 1%. And Nana gonna talk more about that. We almost out of there. Next slide.
Flourishing means expanding both the range of what you do and the depth or skill with which you do it. As for range, ask yourself, what have I done lately that scares me? When was the last time I tried something and failed? If you draw a blank, you're probably playing it too
Come on
safe.
now.
So most of us cannot grow or expand or improve because we are stuck in our own boxes, which is surrounded by our fears. So as an entrepreneur, as a human, your goal has to be the expansion. Here's another secret about that 1%. As long as you're alive, you're striving for that 1%. As long as you're alive. Because you can eke out 1% in any aspect of your life. As long as you're alive, 1%. And so where a lot of your percentages come from in terms of your improvement, I guarantee you they are stuck behind what you're afraid to do. I don't do that. No, black people, we don't do that. No, I'm not designed to do that. I'm a tropical person. We don't do that. Or I'm afraid of heights. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of that. Like, you should be proud of that shit. I'm antisocial. I don't talk to people. I'm an introvert. Like, what? That's crazy. And you want to be successful? You want to grow? I guarantee you most of the time your stuckness, your plateaus are surrounded by your fears. I'm going to say it again. Your plateaus most of the time are surrounded by your fears. Go make, what I want you guys to do after class between now and next week and make a list of all your phobias and fears. Write them all down, every single one of them. Write down your phobias and your fears. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of heights. I'm afraid of bridges. I'm afraid of cats. I'm afraid of dogs. I'm afraid of white people. Write them all down. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. Write down your fears.
Are you accounting for the delineation between fears and mitigating risk? Like, there's some things I'm not doing because I'm calculating the risk.
So are you saying I'm afraid of dark alleys, but you're really thinking, no, I just don't want to walk down a dark alley because it's a high possibility of me getting mugged? Is that the analogy that you're going for?
Yes, because in either case, the outcome is you don't get to whatever's on the other end of that alley. So it could cause a plateau.
That is true. But a fear, the difference between a fear and mitigating risk is a feeling. When you're talking about mitigating risk, you don't feel nothing. It's emotionless. But a fear, you feel it. So if I say, if you're afraid of snakes, Who's afraid of snakes? So we have a couple snake. So if I say, imagine a giant boa constrictor crawling up your leg, wrapping its thick, strong body around you and constricting your leg and getting close to your face. That's a pause, huh? I'm not trying to turn none of y'all on now. Hey, no, but you'll feel the feeling versus like, I'm not trying to put myself in it's just dumb. Some things are dumb. So there's a difference. The whole difference is fear. Fear is not real. Fear is an illusion. Like because a lot of times our fears are misconstrued. Like when y'all was in y'all 20s and 30s, y'all was going to these dangerous ass clubs in downtown Oakland. What was it called? 17th at 17th. Mingles. So for something in you was telling you not to be afraid. You was willing to take the risk to do that. So fear is a choice. It's not. You're not bound by it. But a lot of times, our systems are created by our fears. So I'm saying that's your homework. Make that list. Because next week, we're going to talk about it. But here's a deal. Whenever you feel a plateau, pull your list out. Find something to cross off. And you'll be surprised. You'll learn. This is what I learned about facing fears. That's not linear either. Facing fears is not linear. Which means this is a good example. Who had to fight the bully? Who parents made him go fight the bully? You get your ass out there. You better fight him. I'm going to fight you type shit. Right? Mm-hmm. When you fight the bully, it doesn't just affect that stupid ass kid. When you feel like somebody's bullying you in business, you go in that same mode. Yeah. When somebody's trying to bully you in negotiation, you go in that same mode. It affects anything that remotely symbolizes or looks like that scenario. So that's why that fearless affects your business. That fearless affects your relationships. That fearless affects your life. So understand that this is the key. You playing it too safe. You in your box. You scared. You stuck. You're hit a plateau, and you ain't going nowhere until you cross off one of those fears. That's why going skydiving. When I went skydiving, it sounds so stupid. Jumping out of a plane, but you know how much shit it affected outside of skydiving?
Yep.
So whenever I approach something that was slightly scary, man, I'm a crazy motherfucker. If I can do that, I can walk into this room and say this. Because your brain now cross-references the times that you broke through fears. Next slide. Oh, I thought we was going to make it through. Which one are we? This is the last slide, and we out.
Grit versus quit. If you're going through something, keep going. Grit is a commitment to the process. Times get tough when they are supposed to get tough. What are you asking God for? The removal or the strength?
God, please take this away from me. Please, God. I don't want this no more. You said that if it get too heavy for me, you was going to lift it up.
I hate you.
Lift it up then.
I hate you.
You ain't lifted. You know why? You asking for the wrong thing.
Oh, my God.
Because guess what? What if this is normal in business? It happens once a week. Mm-hmm. God's like, man, you mean to tell me you got to do this with me every week then? I'm subsidizing your mediocrity. And that's a no. Ooh. So you can't handle it. You too weak. But you ask for strength. Teach me how to handle this. Teach me how to get stronger to handle this. What can I do to make sure that a year from now, I don't even pay attention to it. It's easy. It's nothing. That's what we ask for. That's what grit is. Grit means I trust the process no matter what peak, valley, plateau, hype cycle, failure is happening. I trust the process because I know there's progress being made. Grit, I'm holding on. No matter how I feel or if I'm getting accolades or pats on the back or like you the shit. I don't care about none of that. I care about the progress. And I'm holding down to the fact that I'm growing and I'm getting better every day. That's grit. I got this goal and I'm going to get there. I'm going for it. I'm making it, and I'm looking for distinctions and patterns of how to get better in terms of how to hit that goal. That's grit. You can't be an entrepreneur without grit. You a mark.
You know how you don't see something coming? You know.
I'm saying, like, don't play this game with us. Don't play this game with us.
You did.
Like, if we play this game, we gonna play it for real, or we not gonna play it. And so we need grit, and the grit is a muscle that has to be built up over time. So it comes from back and forth, constant failures and quitting and back and getting little bit better. It's same with the 1% rule. So if you decide you want to opt out, I quit. Okay, cool. Next time, quit a little bit. Take a little bit longer to quit. Next time, take a little bit longer and build that grit muscle. But you got to be committed to the process. All right, so we're going to start on this slide next week, and then we're gonna continue it.
So what me and Court was talking about, how much we hate each other. And it's because, so you want to hear something really funny? This class I'm teaching tonight was a pivot from what I was going to teach last class. And a lot of it came from conversations, interactions with people, and a lot of listening. And as Court is going through the class, you're going to see so many similarities. We definitely must have our antennas tuned to the same frequency because we're hearing the same sounds. And so I'm the first part of my class, Danny taught most of it, so I'm gonna kind of speed through it. I was like, I'll be damned. That's why I didn't have nothing to say when he's teaching. I was like, I'm gonna talk about the same shit anyway. So I'm just kind of add, but I'm gonna try to ground some things. I'm trying to give also I'm gonna try to approach it from a very strategical way of thinking about it more than a behavior science, even though there's the same thing. But I'm trying to just give your brain, I'm trying to empower your brain by changing the way it frames it or the way it shapes a story around some of these things. So let me start here. When I grew up, my favorite tree was plum trees. I grew up in East Oakland. I didn't have a lot of money. So plum trees was my candy. And there was this one kind of plum tree. It was a pluot tree. And it had these dark purple plums they were dark red on the inside. Mm-hmm. And they almost had a rose tasting flavor to it. All right. And so me and my wife, we bought a house. And she's doing all this gardening work. And she said, what do you want? I don't give a shit about nothing else, but can I get a plum tree? Right? And mind you, my wife got this garden where it's like she just drops a seed in dirt. And next, like 2 weeks later or a month later, we're eating it. I'm like, how is this even fucking possible, right? Because I remember being in school and we would plant a seed and we would just look at the light and come visit that seed for about 2 months and be like, oh, there goes finally something sprouting, right? Be like, oh, this is amazing, but it was always slow. So I assume, because I don't know anything about planting trees, because I helped the city plant a tree in front of our house and they came out, and I assumed because I helped them, I understood the system, the process, and all the invisible things that go into planting a tree. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna go online and order a tree. And this is where the complexity began. Oh, what temperature is your backyard? Well, how the fuck I know that? what climate system are you in? Are you in this system versus that system? What type of soil? Where are you going to plant it? There were so many questions thrown at me that I had to go hire somebody professional to interpret what the hell I was reading. Because to me, I thought just put the seed, put the tree or whatever in the dirt, and it's going to produce the fruit, right? Because at the end of the day, I would argue all the time, you know what? I don't really have a green thumb. I have a purple thumb. Because everything I've ever planted died. Like if you want me to kill something, if you want to see a plant die or a tree die, let me plant it, right? Why is that? Why is it I have a purple thumb? Or do I really have a purple thumb? What we don't realize is that when we put a seed in the ground, we don't see all the invisible elements that's interacting with the seed, that takes the seed, germinates the seed, allows the seed to break the soil and turn into a tree. We see none of that. We just assume those elements, but those elements exist. Here's the thing, your will has no impact on those elements. Your will has no impact on those elements. Yet we treat entrepreneurship as if your will matters. There are elements that are impacting entrepreneurs every day that are invisible to the everyday person. And so what we often try to do is we try to copy and paste what we see in corporate America or our last job, and we get out of here and we start to activate those actions that we had within somebody else's company, assuming that is entrepreneurship is just people working really, really hard towards an identified goal. Not realizing there's a whole bunch of invisible elements that says if you put that seed in the desert, it's dead. If you put that seed in the wrong soil, it doesn't grow. If you don't give it a certain amount of water, exactly a certain amount of water, if you give it too much water, you can kill it. If you don't prune it, the fruit won't even grow properly. If the tree doesn't, if it's not allowed to be, impacted by another fruit tree, what is it? Pollinated, yeah, pollinated by another fruit tree, it doesn't produce plums. Like these things you would never know when you grab a piece of plum off a tree and you eat it, or when you put the seed in the soil. These are things you have to learn. In this class, you are learning the invisible elements. And a lot of times, the thing that's always bothered me, and this is something I experienced, and no one in this class have done this recently, but you may have participated in this ritual. It's what really bothers me is when people assume, like I assume, which gave me a purple thumb, I put a seed in the soil before so I could be an entrepreneur. Or I seen somebody do before, so I went in my backyard, did the same thing. I don't understand why it's not growing for me. You see, I didn't have a purple thumb. I just didn't understand the process. Some of you guys are busting your ass every day and you're skipping the process. You're going, well, my mother was a farmer. My auntie was a farmer. I assume I'm a farmer. My uncle, or let's just translate it. My uncle was an entrepreneur. My friend's an entrepreneur. I'm assuming I'm an entrepreneur. No, you're not. If you don't understand how these elements are interacting, and there's a balance, it's not a linear process. You don't get to just throw fertilizer in the soil and some water and you're done. You don't even get to fertilize when you feel like it. You have to fertilize under a specific schedule based upon the seed you're planting to get the best results. And within that process, there's things you could alter to change the quality of the actual fruit that the tree will produce. Yet many of us are in this battle between our will and the elements that surround us. That's why the way, which I hate you so much, the way is submission to the elements that are going to be here before you and after you. And it's more important that you learn those elements are impacting your growth as an entrepreneur than for you to continue to have these conversations around your will, your desires, or your beliefs. Those are all shortcomings. Those are all short. No one gives a fuck. The world doesn't give a fuck. See, that's why I hate you. The world doesn't give a fuck whatsoever. If you're not aligning with those elements, and if you're not learning those elements, and those elements change based upon the size of the tree, right? Mm-hmm. So whatever the soil, whatever satisfied the situation when a tree was 3 feet tall will not satisfy the situation when a tree is 25 feet tall. And if you understand the evolution of what is going, all the impact as that tree continue to grow as the roots change. Now, all trees are not the same. Some have deep roots, some have shallow roots. So if you don't understand this concept, and you don't understand like the ecosystem your tree is existing in, sometimes you can introduce a tree into the wrong ecosystem and cause damage to the rest of the ecosystem or the tree itself. Right? This is the same rules for entrepreneurship. We're following the exact same process of growth that a tree follows, but yet for whatever reason we watch social media, commercials, television, false history. When I say false history, you know what they said, make America great again? You know that's based upon advertisement America. If anyone, if many of us, if you're in the upper middle class right now, and I took you back to the 50s, you're living the same way migrants live in this country today. But if you watch advertisement, it looked like everybody pulled up in a nice little Chevrolet and held hands, and dad had on a white shirt and some slacks, and wife had on the Leave It to Beaver dress, and the kids were just so cute with their little red wheel cycles, and you're just going, this is our home. That most America didn't go through that in the 50s. So the reality is that what I'm trying to bring to your attention is that we're distorted and we're constantly engaging in distortion because a lot of us, even if you live on social media, everybody's arguing their distortions, their will. This is what I will. This is what I desire. This is what the world should be. This is what I feel. This is what I want. But yet there's these elements you don't get to change. So in this class, as like we've been covering a lot of elements, right? Emergence, inertia, press secretary. I've addressed so many invisible systems that if you don't know they exist, you're planting your seed in non-fertile soil. It's clear? Next slide. Because I'm so pissed. Oh, he done did everything. I thought I was gonna have a boom. I was like, this, they don't kill him with this one. He's like, done it already. Okay, I think I'm just doing his cover album. All night long. Y'all ain't never heard this shit before, huh? Okay, so this is another thing I need you to keep at top of mind. So the seed is a very important concept to understand as you move through this class. Because a lot of times as people try to describe this class, they try to describe it and put it within a box that fits within a description and not realizing I'm introducing to you so many invisible principles that unless you're an entrepreneur and you learn these principles, you don't learn these principles by tinkering. Because you will tinker. Just like I could tinker with seeds and dirt all I want, but until I learn those invisible elements, I'm playing the luck game. Once you learn the invisible elements, then I'm driving my vehicle. Right now, some of you will reference somebody who jumped in their psychological Uber and landed somewhere, but they're not realizing they never had any control. So in order for you to have control, you have to start to learn the elements that surround what you're doing. Now, every principle I introduced to you is called a base rate. What is a base rate? Base rate is this idea, it's based upon distribution. And base rate works like this. If you realize that 80% of Oakland likes vanilla, and you have you say you have a friend you wanted to give them some ice cream as a surprise, and you have a choice between strawberry, chocolate, and vanilla, your best guess should be vanilla. That's called base rate. Base rate only changes unless you learn something different, which you find out that person is allergic to vanilla. So in class, every principle that you will be introduced is called the base. What is your base? Plateau. What is your base rate of how the world works, right? How these systems work. However, what you have to understand that within the system is this thing called randomness, which I will get into deeper in a future class, meaning that there is no straight line. There's no linear. Everything's random, right? Because everything is random, there is times when the base idea will not work because there's other variables that are part of the equation. So you don't get to become very lazy and go, well, this is the principle I learned in class, so I'm just going to use that principle, copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. You're actually moving like a fool. There's a cold saying by Charlie Munger that says, to the man with a hammer, everything's a nail. Mm-hmm. So in a sense, you remember that everything you learn in this class is called a base rate. A base, for example, I may teach you how to make a cake, but what if the person who arrives don't eat cream? Do you understand the ingredients that goes into a cake and what is required and what can be substituted for cream? So base rate says I can move like this until I can't. This is very important because a lot of times people learn new ideas and assume they don't change as if they function in all type of different kind of situations and conditions when that's not the world we live in. Next slide. Now, so one of my family members came by the house and she's like, "Nana, you losing weight?" I said, "Yeah, I removed added sugar from my diet." And she said, "Oh, that's amazing." So she started asking me a lot of questions about it. She says, "Well, Nana, one of my biggest addictions is I love Hershey bars." I said, "Well, I know you may love Hershey bars, but I found a great supplement, a sugarless chocolate that doesn't taste, because some sugarless chocolate, they have that after diet taste after, like diet soda, just trash." I said, "I found a sugarless chocolate that is high in fiber, like 1% sugar, and it'll be really good for you." So she said, "Oh, wow, I'd like to try that." I said, "Tell you what, I'll pick you up when I go to the store." So I went to the store, I picked up one. And I said, "Well, open the chocolate up, taste it." Because I gave it to my wife, she loves it, I love it. Matter of fact, my wife stole 2 of mine, so I'm just gonna bring that to your attention. I'm still feeling sensitive. I'm just airing out some of my emotions. Give me a second. But anyway, I'm gonna get past it. So I gave her a piece of chocolate. She eats the chocolate and she says, "It's not Hershey's." She says, "Not Hershey's." And this is when it popped in my mind. Remember I said, your organic default is what? You remember what I said?
Poverty.
It's poverty. Poverty is the human being's organic default. Let me say this again. Poverty is a human being's organic default. When you argue what you do and don't like, you're arguing your defaults. Yet you will turn around with the same tongue and tell somebody, "I want to achieve this. I want my life to be different," but you protect all of your defaults. This game we in is about breaking your defaults. You don't get to keep your defaults and gain success because your defaults is poverty and your life is working the way it's supposed to work. But this doesn't make me happy. You know what? I'm just a sugar lover. You know what? I just like to have snacks at night. I got a sweet tooth. That's your default. I don't I'm just not into reading like that. That's your default. When you use the word "I" and everything that comes out your mouth after that, that is your default. What an entrepreneur tells you from day one, we're moving from our defaults. And what we do is we develop new defaults. What is your new default every day? So now my new default, meaning that if you give me a Hershey bar now, I'm like, damn, so much sugar in this, because that's no longer my default. Doesn't mean I can't go back down, right? But as you adjust your defaults up, your life will align with your new defaults. Be careful. Our culture is so, and not talking about human culture as a whole. It's not even black folks by ourselves. Social media, social justice, social every fucking thing protects our defaults. What do you feel? Oh, we have to respect your defaults. No, we don't. Fuck your defaults. I tell my defaults all the time, fuck yourself. I'm at the gym. I don't want to work out. My default is go back home, eat me some more breakfast, especially if there's some crab toast, and take a nap. Right? Yeah, my wife makes it cold. Like, let me tell you, so that crab toast, look here. If she said it was ready right now, this class might get cut short. But you understand me? But defaults is not, your brain is, and when your brain argues default, it is doing its natural, that's what the brain is supposed to do. The brain doesn't want to burn resources. The brain number one goal is to keep you alive. So that is actually biological in alignment when your brain is saying, can we just stay close to our defaults and stop changing? There's too many fucking calories you're trying to burn. Now, mind you, also which we'll get into in a minute, you're not going to get past your defaults if you're always sleepy. You're not going to get past your defaults if you're always hungry. You're not going to get past your defaults if you can't say no. Next slide. So, what does that mean? You have to be adaptable. Let me explain something about adaptable. And he talked about this already, so I'm going to speed it up and just hit a couple of points. If you walk into the gym and I'm bench pressing my 315, and you grab that 315 and it's stuck on your chest, that's a horrible methodology. Adaptable. So, for example, I run twice a week. those who witnessed me run the first time, you may argue I was walking because I wasn't moving very fast. People were walking past me, right? I was jog motion, but my speed was not motion. Right? It was very subdued. And I didn't give a shit. You know why? Because I realized that's the process I have to go through to become a runner. In business, the first 6 years of Phi-Tech Media, we were slow as shit. It was almost a club at my studio because we weren't that busy like that. We were busy with sometimes, and sometimes it's cap session from the morning we get there to the point we close the door. It was slow, right? Adapting, which going to his concept of progress, is a slow process sometimes. But you got to know that because let me tell you what happens when I'm running. So I'm running, and say, I'm 56, about to be 57 this month, and let's say a 70-year-old run right by me. My brain be like, what the fuck? Right? Now, one time I sped up, and my whole inner body around my core was fucked up, right? Right? Because it was just like, like I had shit pulling. I don't even know if a doctor could describe it to me and I would remember the words, right? And so then one day I'm running again and a young dude passed by me and my brain started romanticizing. You know what? I remember let me see if I can still, nope. Right? Now today, I'm able to run, was it the run before last, this dude he runs all the time. He said, hey man, you getting faster now. I was like, oh shit. Mm-hmm. Me getting faster was almost invisible to me. Because every time I went to the gym, it was like, oh god damn, this shit right here. But slowly but surely, I'm adapting and I'm growing and I'm getting stronger and I'm moving forward. I'm adapting, I'm growing, I'm moving forward, right? Same thing with the chocolate. If she would have ate that chocolate and just continued to eat it daily, a month later, she's used to that new chocolate. A lot of times you guys get introduced to a new way of eating. They can, like, for example, let's say you grew up like most black people, hog maw, chitlins, fried chicken like a motherfucker, sweets, some grape juice. Y'all know the grape juice, right? Y'all, don't get white on me. Grape juice, whatever the fuck y'all drink, right? And you have to adapt your taste buds to sparkling water and baked chicken and more vegetables and whey powder to increase your proteins and stop eating all goddamn grazing like a cow, right? When you first start, you're not gonna go from 0 to 100. You gotta go through, you have to map out, you have to create an adaptable plan. How do I adapt to a new lifestyle? And then you have to measure that progress. And also you're gonna backslide here and there. But when you backslide, it's critical you get back on that horse as fast as you can. Like me quitting sugar took years. It wasn't like, man, I'm done with this. It was, I'm done for a day, done for a week, done for a week and a couple of hours, right? To now, it's just the way I eat. So my daughter had a birthday party. They brought out the cake. And I'm allowed to have the cake like 3 or 4 times a year. They brought out the cake, right? It's a cake we buy from this fancy restaurant. I was like, yo, is the cake great, everybody? Is it great? Said, oh, it's cool. Okay, good. That's all I need here. I'm out. Mm-hmm. Now, usually with my daughter, I want to have cake with my daughter, but like I've got to a point where I don't really want to have sugar unless I have to have sugar. Because I've gotten used to not having sugar. And you're like a crackhead. You don't put no baking soda in my house. Don't put no baking I go to hell for that one. Next slide. Next slide. Woo! Okay. Interesting thing about the brain. Daniel Kahneman talked about this in his book. When somebody asks you, what are you thinking? Do you know a lot of times you are supplemented with what you're feeling? This is critical. You know why your brain does that? Because your brain realizes it burns less resources to talk about your feelings than what you're thinking. You're not flawed. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not stupid. You can have a PhD right now. And somebody says, what do you think? And most people articulate their feelings. This is important to know this. Because even you'll do it sometimes. What do you think? What do you think about me buying a new car? Well, I feel we can't afford that shit because at the end of the day, you last time, I didn't ask you what you felt now, goddamn. Why is that important? Because the higher the stakes, the higher the risk, your feelings are going to betray you. Because you can't feel it. At a certain point, you can't feel the decisions you got to make in business. Have millions coming through your door and try to use your feelings and see where you're going to end up. at your default. Trust me. Even when you listen to your customers, they try to tell you, you say, how you feel about my company? How you feel about this product? I know, what do you think about my product? She's going to tell you what they feel. They can't tell you you got to know how to pry out people's thought. Thinking requires a human being to have enough resources to show up to that. And so a lot of times when people even give you a lot of feedback, you got to be able to listen to the feedback and try to, sift out the actual thoughts, because you're going to hear a lot of feeling noise. And it doesn't mean that feelings are not relevant, but a lot of times if you're looking for thinking as far as what do people think, whether you work with entrepreneurs, business people, clients, customers, a lot of times the human brain will supplement it with what they feel. So guess what? It ain't women who are about feelings. Human beings, we're feeling focused. We're not thinking focused. That's important because trust me, a lot of times when you make decisions, you think you're making decisions. If you pay attention to your decision, you're expressing your feelings. And a lot of times you can't get past what you feel to actually process the thought. Is that shit cold? You thinking, oh yeah, I thought about this, I analyzed this, I strategized this. No, you felt your way through the whole motherfucking thing. Cut it out. And sometimes you gotta be careful when your feelings get in the way. Sometimes you need to sit down and really think something out, but you're so caught up in your feelings. Have you ever tried to dual task, like try to watch a TV show and write an important document at the same time? You can't. It's the worst writing you've ever seen. You come back and read that shit, you be like, what is car my 243 mean? What the fuck is that? Why did I write that? Right? Because you try to split your attention. You're not designed like that. So when you try to, if you're in this, you're not realizing, so pay attention and analyze as you articulate your decision making. See if it's really thought, or you articulating your feelings. Important. Next slide. Yes.
Are there any tricks to know when you're like thinking versus feeling? Like if I express it this way, or if I'm using this type of language, there's a solid chance that I'm feeling and not thinking, or vice versa. Like, is there just some more guardrails we can put up to build more awareness of that, those differences?
So first, the biggest guardrail we all have is a circle win. That's why I say most entrepreneurs die on the vine because of isolation, because your brain can play the coldest tricks on you. You'll never catch it. You really feel like you control everything, but you don't, even about yourself. Oh, I know what I was thinking. No, you don't. Right? When I'm around people of a certain quality, they can echo my thoughts. But have you ever wrote a paper before and it sounded amazing, and then when you read it out loud, you realize, what the fuck was this? That's that distortion. Others help you with that distortion. Isolation is the enemy of all. You'll catch some of it on your own, right? And also reflection, self-reflection. Everything you do, reflect. You gotta burn more. You gotta burn more energy. That's why exercise is critical, because when you exercise, you literally wash your brain and strengthen your brain to actually perform in this arena. Those of you trying to get to achieve these goals and not exercise, I pray for you. I don't know. I think that's all I got for you. I don't know what the fuck to say, right? But this game we're playing here, this decision-making game, this strategy game, you really have to, one, keep certain people around you that can give you rich feedback and let you hear yourself, as well as challenge your perspectives, which you need as much of that as possible. And then two, self-reflection. So sometimes you'll catch it in hindsight, but before the decision gets out of control, you can reverse it, right? And in that process, you have to get your sleep, you have to exercise, and you have to eat better. I know that shit sounds simple as fuck, but you'd be surprised how many people who are trying to be entrepreneurs who are always starving themselves in one of those three areas, but still want to have high quality decision making. It's not possible. When I'm really, really sleepy, so for example, me and Mashama was not working out. We had picked up like 30 pounds a piece. And Mashama, he was skinny with 30 pounds. Funniest 30 pounds ever. But anyway, I'm more even. He was more Buddhist. Anyway, so we both picked up 30 pounds, and we watched the quality of our decisions deteriorate. We watched ourselves use emotions more than we were thinking. We would have a crisis come to the door, and we would spend 30 minutes addressing our feelings as opposed to executing solutions. Sometimes even talking to the customer about our fucking feelings. I feel like when you came in here, I feel like you disrespected. No, they wasn't disrespecting me at all. That's me interpreting, creating meaning making to something that wasn't existing. Number two, not taking time to learn the customer perspective, which would improve my business, right? So feeling versus thinking is not a one-man show. It is an environmental show. It's an ecosystem show. So that's why I pick everybody around me. And if I feel like you're not, those who are around me that in the early stages would say, oh, no, it's just, and try to comfort me from when I would try to tell them about something strategic I was challenging with, and they would try to pet me on my shoulders, I would literally stop the conversation and say, what the fuck are you talking about? They look at me like, you're working against me. I don't need to hear that shit. Gauge me into thinking, like, for example, I call court, it doesn't mean that we don't have feelings. I don't want to make it sound like some old robotic shit like this. But when I'm in the middle of a crisis or we trying to talk about business, we will start to be able to say, hey, where's that going with that? What's that got to do with anything? Also, too, being honest about your feelings. Many of us go into feeling denial. We would say, oh, that wasn't my feelings. I'm not feeling that way. No, it'd be like, yeah, that was my feelings. Like, I want to take my business over here to here. No, that's because you feel some way about being next to that girl. Yeah, that's right. That's about right. Right? You got to be honest about that shit. No, it's because, and as you start to like distort your feelings with descriptions, you'll lose access to your feelings. Just call them out what the fuck they are. Like, there is no such thing as, like, okay, how many times y'all felt like hitting somebody over the head with a hammer and knocking them the fuck out? Did you do it? Right? But you felt it. Right? So you can have crazy ass feelings. You don't go to jail for your feelings. You go to jail for your actions, not your feelings. No, we're talking about that, Shakita. 10 years ain't got nothing to do with nothing else. But point is this. So what I'm saying is that the more you can build an honest relationship with your feelings, even your dark side, the more you can have a better filter. But the ultimate filter is the group you're surrounded by. Okay. Before we get to leveraging, there's something that Court talked about earlier. So, in all my years of working out, there's something I discovered that in my latter years is how I frame any fast-moving conversations. So somebody walk by me and say, hey, Nana, how do I grow my business? I don't really want to grow that. I don't want to engage that dumbass conversation. That's like me saying to you, wow, that's an amazing meal you made for the president. How do I do that? What the fuck I'm supposed to tell you, right? I'm a chef. What the fuck? It's like I mean years I went to school for this shit. I'm supposed to, oh yeah, what you do is that's a recipe, right? Recipe. Give me a recipe book and you still ain't gonna eat it, right? It's just because even interpreting the recipe book is a chef or a cook has to know how to do that. I'm not a cook, right? I'm a boiler. Give me, top ramen, I got the best, right? I bought that shit, here you go, right? But cook is a different conversation, right? And I blame my wife, because I used to be able to cook, but then she's so good, she done made me lazy. So now I'll be like, babe, I really want some eggs, but I don't really want to cook it myself. So, okay. One of the things I learned, one of the things I say to people is that, well, what's your rhythm? That's why I hate you. I said, what's your rhythm? They said, what do you mean? Look at your life. What do you do from morning to night? How do you move around? How do you schedule your hours? Are you frantic or are you under control? What do you do with that time? That rhythm dictates what you become. That's it. It's almost that fucking simple. Always examine your rhythm. Working out. Let me explain to you how cold rhythm is. Rhythm is not, anybody ever danced before? Keep missing a beat. Do you have rhythm? Okay. Rhythm means that you have to be consistent. You have to keep riding that beat. Pause. Non-stop. Hey, I beat, nobody can say, I got myself. You understand? I don't need that shit. I said pause. But some of y'all went very on the other side. But anyway, so the thing is that you gotta be able to pause, ride that rhythm. Once you start missing the beat unintentionally, you don't have rhythm. You don't achieve your outcome. You don't get to work out really, really hard today, miss 3 days, come back, work out again, miss another day, work out. That's not the rhythm. You don't get to eat really, really well today, and then tomorrow you kind of off a little bit, and then next week you ate really good, but you ate a couple cookies after the healthy food. You're out of rhythm. Rhythm is, what do you wish to achieve, and does your rhythm align with what you wish to achieve? Once you decide to skip the record and miss the rhythm, you're really just creating friction on top of your defaults. That's all you're doing. You're stealing your default. You may even have bragging points when you see people, so you may gain some status currency, but you haven't changed your life. So a lot of times, if you want to really examine your life, just check your rhythms. And your rhythms, let me tell you how rhythms can be so easily disrupted. Yo, man, we have this party tomorrow. Okay, I'll get back to it. Yo, can I meet with you in the next 15 minutes? Hey, man, shit, I got an opportunity to go meet this person over here. Hey, they got a sale at this store. Oh, man, you know, my girlfriend called me. She wants to go to this party tomorrow. And all of a sudden, you have no rhythm. Then you look at your life and be like, you know, I want this kind of life. But you can't dance, baby. Until you can put those raggedy feet together and keep a fucking rhythm, your life represents the rhythm you maintain. This is why nobody invites you to the Olympics. Well, maybe her. But outside of everybody else, nobody invites you. Because you got no fucking rhythm. I promise you, weight loss is not anecdotal. It's not these key things you do here and there. It's not about just starving. It's about a rhythm. You gain weight because of a rhythm. If you want to lose weight, it's going to be another rhythm. If your money's off, it's a rhythm. If you want your money to grow, it's a rhythm. Don't think for 5 minutes you can keep that raggedy ass rhythm and have the life you want. It doesn't work that way. So just when you go home, analyze your rhythm through. Like don't look at one day. Look at like a whole month of just your behavior and how you're showing up. If you're all over the place and spread, and here's the thing: serving others to feel valuable about yourself will destroy your rhythm. Let me say this again: serving others to feel valuable about yourself will destroy your rhythm. Every fucking decision you make needs to be strategical and needs to matter to the things that matter to you. That could be your family, that could be your community, that could be your personal life. But often our rhythms, it's almost like scarcity destroys your rhythm. When you feel like, okay, I gotta make sure, or you trying to save so much money, you spend 3 hours, you know, destroys your rhythm. Surfing the web could destroy your rhythm. Like, you know, I ain't got time to read. I bet you if I hung out with you for a whole goddamn day, how in the fuck you watched all 7 episodes this week? But you got time to read. How in the fuck you have long ass conversations about nothing based dialogue with people who ain't going nowhere, even though you're trying to move forward, and you go, I ain't got time for all these things in my rhythm. Tennille, when she first started working at 510 Media, I was like, yo, Tennille, between these hours, don't you call me for shit? I know this is a daytime, but this is my workout time. Am I lying? Tennille tried to call me a couple of times. Tennille, I'm fucking working out. What the fuck you need? What's wrong with this dude, she would say, right? But then, you know, she starts seeing that my consistency is across the board. My wife even told me when she first met me, she says, you know what? I've never seen a man as consistent as you. If you say you're going to do it, it's done. Because I'm a man who respects the rhythm. What I realized that it's almost self-betrayal to work hard on something without a rhythm. Because you know what happens? You put all that fucking energy with no return. Because you didn't have no rhythm. Stop measuring your highlights. Stop measuring those days of extreme behavior. Measure your rhythm. That's why, like, if you work out, if you ever say, "No, I want to come work out with you," I have this all the time. There's always somebody who wants to come work out with me, and they want to do some extreme shit. Yo, we're going to get some playing cards, pimping. Every time we drop a card, we're going to do that times 2. We're going to do this motherfucking thing. You know, we're going to be hella buff like when I was down for a little time. That's how I got hella. No, I'm not fucking with you. Yo, man, you want to go bike riding? I want you to do nothing but heels. I'm not fucking with you. You know why I'm not fucking with them? Because that rhythm cannot be maintained. I already know you can't maintain that rhythm. I understand that even within rhythm, that rhythm has to have a certain amount of timing that can sustain it. If I get to the point it's non-sustainable, I'm not gonna go anywhere. I'm gonna burn out. I'm gonna work out every day for the next 6 months. It don't give a fuck what it takes. I'm gonna work out with a trainer. I'm gonna put in some double time. And 3 months into it, you're done. But if you caught a rhythm, and mind you, you could probably work out 6 days a week if you grew into it and you adapted to it naturally. But you start with your rhythm and you go, okay, here's where I'm missing some beats. Let me adjust this, let me adjust that, let me adjust this, let me adjust that, let me adjust this. Okay, I'm smoother. Let me adjust this, let me adjust that. Before you know, you're like, oh shit, I'm a rhythm. And you'll realize it takes time to get to a rhythm. You don't get to make it. Like for example, if you go home tonight, you won't get it that fast. Rhythm's something you gotta almost catch the rhythm. Once you catch it, you roll it. Then you gotta protect the rhythm. Once that rhythm is lost, you'll almost backslide all the way back to where you came from. Mm-hmm. Protect the fucking rhythm. You'll realize weight loss is a rhythm. It's not a hard workout. It's not a trainer. It's not all the other shit you're talking about. Rhythm. Economics, business, entrepreneurship is a rhythm. You could tell when before your business hits that pothole, a lot of times your rhythm gave you an indication you weren't prepared for the pothole. You know it. You know when you're fucking up. You can look at your team and be like, we're out of rhythm. When you're in rhythm, we flow in a certain kind of way. We move. When a team reaches a championship and they playing against intense competition, they got a cold-blooded rhythm. They got a cold-blooded rhythm. Their timing, what they see, how they can damn near be like, he's over there. Rhythm. But when that rhythm's off, I could be the most talented athlete in the world. Man, what the fuck? God damn, we could never win a game. You ain't know what you're supposed to. Well, you didn't pass, but you didn't. And now we have these dumbass dialogues. Neither one of us are in rhythm. Pay attention to the rhythm. When you meet people who are performing at high levels, they have rhythms. That's all it is. It ain't no fancy ass. This is a rhythm game. This ain't a smart game. I know a lot of dumbass, broke ass PhDs. No rhythm. They have no fucking rhythm. Next slide. Oh no, we're right there. Don't stay right there. Stay right there. Leveraging. I'm just sharing something about leveraging. Somebody asked me the other day, Nana. So I spent $40,000 on cabinets alone for my new space. Pray for me. And somebody said, Nana, why you spend $40,000 on cabinets? Like nobody. Most of y'all would probably. Some people would never see the fucking cabinets, right? I ain't gonna put them on my Facebook page. That's really weird. Look at my motherfucking cabinets. That's weird. I was playing the leverage game. So what do you mean leverage game? In my world, I do B2B. I don't do B2C. I go business to business, not business to customers, right? Most of my clients are businesses. Why does another business hire another business? Trust. They're trying to avoid the fears. They're not hiring because you're the best company. You won't get me fired, you get me promoted. That's the only person thinking about. If I can hire this company, will you get me promoted? If you get me fired, you fucked over the game. That's why a lot of times they stay with the tried and true because it won't get me fired. Nobody fires anybody for making a weak decision, right? Making the same old default decision. But you will get fired for trying some new shit that costs millions of dollars, right? Quickly. So one of the ways you can, as I'm growing this business and I'm B2B and we're growing, we have this great momentum, I invest in my space to tell the customer when they walk in the door, I am their most trusted advisor. Every dime I'm spending in my office is leverage. It's leverage. I'm not spending to stunt, although it will stunt. No, it has to stunt because I need my customers to say, yeah, I'm fucking with them. And my customer will come back to my office in 3 years and a lot of shit will change every 3 years. Because I need to say that you, not only am your current trusted advisor, but I am also your progressive trusted advisor, right? It ain't about me. Some of y'all will build offices and that shit will look like the Goodwill left some shit outside and you put it inside your office. That is not an option. Not if you're trying to grow in this game. You have to also not only invest in compounded growth, you also have to invest in leverage. Black people, we've done it too fucking long where we ran off our businesses like our grandmother's couch. We got to run our businesses as if, hey, I'm trying to grow. How do I best position myself with competition that's currently in the market and competition that's coming into the market? The market never stays the same. Let's talk about Shakina's gym. Shakina has a beautiful gym right now. Right now. Y'all remember when the Chrysler 300 was a sexy car? Go get a Chrysler 300 today and see if it ever calls your car sexy. Right? Meaning that the market is changing so aggressively that if you're not constantly investing to say, I am the big dog in the room, you don't want your customers to interpret who you are. You gotta put the words in your customer mouth on who you are. Oh, Fight Team Media, they're high standard. They move like this. Most of you who talk about Fight Team Media has never spent money with me. It's because I'm constantly positioning in the market to create leverage against my competition. You don't have a right to be successful. No one gives a fuck about you. The market's not waiting on you. There's no fairness. There's no justification. No one fucking likes you. That's why I hate Court for what the fuck he just said. Because he was 100% accurate. He's just saying the same shit I was going to say now. It's not fancy. No one gives a fuck. So your goal is, because no one gives a fuck, is leverage. And you have to reinvent yourself with every new generation. Every time somebody comes out of college in June, you're not the hottest thing no more. And if you want to stay in this game, you have no entitlement. What you did in the past doesn't fucking matter. I was arguing with I was going to debate with one of my brothers, but he didn't debate. He's such a smart thinker. We started the debate and then he finished it correctly. Right? I was like, yeah, you hella tight. But I was arguing hip hop's trash. He said, what the fuck you mean hip hop trash? Doesn't do some good things. Yeah, but pimps do good shit. But it doesn't mean it's good, right? He said, no, what? I can get into a longer drawn out discussion. But one of the points I was trying to bring to his attention was he was arguing hip hop of the older days. Chuck D and Busta Rhymes. I said, these people don't know what the fuck that is. Now he already said that, so I'm not, because he literally he finished. He said, I disagree. Fuck it. I agree. Fuck it. And then he started articulating. I was like, damn, dude, you kind of tight, because his brain is like a superpower engine. He's a dope cat. Brother, he's a brother in that community doing dope shit with black kids. But anyway, the point is that the market changes so much that the shit that you in love with is dying every second. It's dying every second. So shit that you thought was hot in your era, it's already dead to the next generation. I think we was in office with some of our new designers, our young designers, right? One of the designers like in his 20s. We said, yeah, man. They said, now name your top 5 hip hop artists. I said, well, shit. I said, well, your top 5 of all time? He said, yeah. I said, okay, I have to put LL Cool J. The other dude's like, the actor? I was like, oh, shit. 20-year-old. Gotcha. Stab, right? You really feel like OG, right? But so, at the end of the day, it's like, but that's the reality that you're living in business. So this whole idea of moving, so if Shakina doesn't constantly think about what her outfits could be next year and invest in those moves, she's already deteriorating and losing her position in the market. You guys get that? So black people, you gotta spend money on shit. Another thing, let me just say this, pet peeve, clean the motherfucking windows. I hate a business with dirty windows. I fucking hate a business. Like, what is wrong with you when you got fingerprints all over your goddamn windows? Am I lying? Do I hate dirty windows? I spend money to keep our windows clean. I think dirty windows make no fucking sense. Come into my business, dirty for the gate. I'm gonna help you out. No, you're not. You're here to serve with dirty ass windows. Just think about that when you get home. That's some weird shit. Next slide. Next slide. All right, ready? This shit here. Okay, go to the next slide. We'll come back to this slide. Go to the next slide. Okay. This shit right here is so fucking powerful. Look at those. I want y'all to look at these numbers. Now, I thought she was going to sharpen it a little bit for you, so you're not getting, it is kind of distorted a little bit. But pay attention to the compounding. So read the story.
Sorry. I just.
Oh, okay. Actually, go back to the end. Read that story. Go back to read that story.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It is an Indian folktale about a clever young girl who outsmarts the greedy king through her knowledge of the power of compounding. She does a good deed. It comes to the notice of the Raja, who offers her a reward. All she asks for is 1 grain of rice, doubled each day for 30 days.
By the way, stop. So this young girl's outsmarting the king. Black people, this is how we got outsmarted in the music industry. When you don't know the invisible elements and the person who does, you can't sit at the table with sharks. If you ever get a chance to be in the same industry with somebody who's way above you, it's worth the investment to get another shark to support you. And it's worth you to take time to learn the game you in before you play this game. Because if you pay attention to this game, this happens in the music industry over and over and over, because the way human beings work in business, no one gives a fuck what you don't know. The court, like you go to court work tomorrow and tell the judge, Judge, I didn't know that. Judge would be like, so that's fine, or the amount of years you're going to put in for that, because of that. They don't give a fuck about that. Not knowing is not an arguable case, right? Same thing in this business game. You don't invest your money in poor investment and say, I didn't know. I want my money back. You're talking to the wall because they're already gone. All right, now go ahead, finish this.
At the end of the 30 days, he realizes that his granary is almost emptied. The girl managed to get more than enough rice to feed the entire country.
So she asked for one rice. She said, what she asked for? She said, doubled each day for 30 days. I just want give me one piece of rice and then double it for 30. Go to the next slide. Let's look at that doubling. 1 went to 2. 2 went to 4. 4 went to 8. 8 went to 16. 16 went to 32. 32 went to 64. 64. By the time she's down here, she's at 536,870,912 grains of rice in 30 days. Is that shit crazy? Just doubling 1 grain per day. It's the most, our brain is not capable of understanding that, because our brain is linear in the way we move. So when we think about things, we think about everything linear. Money, everything's linear. Our brain doesn't know what compounding is. You have to keep compounding at the top of your mind at all times, because it's not your natural organic space. Next slide. Go ahead.
Compounding follows a power law. And power laws are magical things.
Mm-hmm.
Knowledge, experience, and relationships compound.
So freeze, start right there. Knowledge, experience, and relationship, and top of money, because we're going to talk about money, it all compounds. Almost every element in life when it comes to building, if you talk about the use of the word scaling, if you don't understand the principles of compounding, I promise you're making poor decisions. You don't even see, matter of fact, I promise you've missed opportunities because you didn't understand compounding. There's been opportunities laid on the table before. I've never heard, okay, when it comes to social media, compounding doesn't exist on the mass scale. It might be somebody here and there can understand it, but people who talk compounding, it's a different language. And I'm going to try to help you understand it in this class today. We're going to have 2 classes on compounding because it's that complex. And I need you guys to understand. I'm trying to simplify it as simple as possible. I'm putting it on the ground where the birds can get to it or the chickens can get to it. But this shit going to be as simple as possible. Let's go.
When it comes to our personal capabilities, there are few limits to the possibilities suggested by this model.
Mm-hmm.
As with compound interest, most of the gains come at the end, not at the beginning.
Pause. I don't know how many of you guys are starting to do your investing in savings. I am. It is not sexy when you first start. That shit looks like, what the fuck? At Charles Schwab, so I have multiple accounts. Charles Schwab, Sophie. I got one, Wealth. Was it Wealth Distribution? It's a wealth company. What is it? Wealth Fund. When I first put my money in the account, they was irritated as shit with me. I'm like, hey, how much I'm supposed to be making per month off this shit? When you first invest or save money in a compounded account, it feels like you're not going anywhere. Most of the results happen in the end. Go back to what Corey said earlier. When you first working on progress, it feels like you're not making any progress. Most of the results happen where? At the end. In your relationship, and you first get together, y'all have a kid, it feels like this shit, how the fuck am I supposed to last? This is too much work. Most of the results happen in the end. Those of you looking for immediate gratification because you've been listening to hip hop, you're missing all the fucking compounded value of life itself. That's why I hate the advertisement of as soon as you get a car, go buy that Ferrari, go buy those shoes, buy that jewelry, because compounding doesn't work that way. Compounding means that you engage in a process that becomes totally invisible to you, even emotionally invisible to you. There's no emotional enjoyment in the beginning of compounding. Let me say this again. You have no emotional enjoyment in the beginning of compounding. That shit seems as slow and dead as fuck. It feels like you're building a house with one brick at a time, and that little thing to spread the mortar, and you one. God, this is some bullshit. I swear to God, I don't know how the fuck I'm supposed to build this goddamn mansion like this. But what compounding says is as you're making this investment over time, the growth starts to speed up as you get closer to the end, not the beginning. Not after 2 or 3 years, because I've been putting my time in. In the end, this is important as we go through this, because you got to keep that top of mind, because that's the part where we betray all of our fucking compounding, because we don't have the patience for it. We want success. Another thing that came to the top of mind. I'm gonna keep going off the freeway and get back on.
Talking about my mama.
Stop the fucking comparisons. You can't grow through comparisons. If you see my lifestyle, right? You may say you caught Fight to me the last 7 years. You're like, damn, y'all must start making millions overnight. Okay. You weren't there the first 15 years or 13 years. It was like, wow, is this what y'all doing? Right? But we continue. If you know anything about me and Mashama, we had this rule: you had to be better than you were the year before. That's compounded growth. So every day we was trying to figure out how to become better than we were before. Right? This shit was boring. If you came in there and sat in one of our meetings, you'd be like, wrap it up. Boring. Right? So let's say you see us these last 7 years. You're like, God damn, y'all killing the game. And you new to the game. And you reference that to yourself. You're going to get a false measurement of where you need to be and what you're supposed to be doing and how long it takes. So in the end, you become discouraged because you don't understand the compounded growth, right? Comparisons often make us shit on our own personal progress. Mm-hmm. We're making progress, but we're poorly measuring it because we're measuring by the wrong standards. That's why I said observation knowledge is the worst fucking knowledge when it comes to business. You know, I watch Apple and I watch Steve Jobs and what I've learned. Please stop talking to me. Please stop. Please, I'm meditating right now. Please. Even though I'm at a fair, I will meditate when you come around. Because you just said nothing to me. Observation knowledge is the weakest form of knowledge there is, because a lot of times you don't understand the trajectory of the compounding process. Compounding is not a straight linear line. It goes like this. It's a swoop, right? So at this point, you see it in the beginning, it's not worth your time. When you see it at the top, when it's peaking, you're like, oh yeah, and then he did this and he did that. You don't see this shit here, which made this work. Mm-hmm. So comparisons, if you know somebody's in your industry or whatever, and they're successful, you can't use natural comparisons of, well, if they could do it, I could do it. No, can you go through that rough shit they went through? If you can't, yeah, you can go to the popping time when you see them like, yeah, man, they was working from this hotel and they was swimming on their breaks and shit. I could do that shit. Yes, I could too. But can you go those days when they ate peanut butter jelly 5 days straight, morning, noon, and night, because that's all the money they had, because that was part of breaking their ego so they can actually fucking grow their businesses. Roll.
As with compound interest, most of the gains come at the end, not at the beginning.
Come on.
You have to keep investing your returns to experience the exponential growth that is compounded.
Pause. Rhythm. If you don't maintain that rhythm, there is no compounding. You don't benefit from compounding. Compounding is when that shit hits, I promise you, you won't see it coming. It's gonna make your nose bleed, right? But it doesn't happen if you keep breaking the fucking rhythm. You know, I was seeing when people break rhythm. This is boring. I don't feel like I'm not going nowhere. You know what I'm gonna start doing now? I'm gonna start raising dogs. I think that's a new idea I'm gonna start working on. Oh, I got a new hobby now. My new hobby is I'm making soup. I think this soup could be really amazing thing. Yes. I'm going to have a soup business. I'm going to have dog business. But also I'm an accountant too. I'm an accountant. Yes, I am. Amen. Amen. Whatever picks up first. Because, at the end of the day, this probably ain't working for me because competition and racism and system problems and stuff. So whatever. Because my soup is good though. This is why you're not compounding. Compounding is a process that you got to stick with it to maintain that rhythm. Once you break that rhythm, that's your fault. The universe, what did he say? In the beginning, it was the word, right? I mean, that this shit was here before you got here. In the beginning, these rules have already been here. You come here with your new wheel thinking like, I'm going to change the word because I was born yesterday. God says, let's go.
Albert Einstein supposedly described compounding as the eighth wonder of the world. While he probably didn't, whoever did wasn't far off the mark. Compounding is an immensely powerful and often misunderstood force.
It's a force. The key word is force. It's a powerful fucking force. I promise you. What's the name? Keep seeing Charlie Munger's partner.
Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett made most of his money off of compounding. You'd be surprised how many people are rich right now because just compounding. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you why. When you say white supremacy, that is a tool of compounding. It's not a tool of superpowers. Go ahead. So, by the way, when something reaches compounded growth, it feels like they're blessed by the gods. You feel like you're a super force. You're not a super force. You compound it. That's all it is. There's not one person in this room is better than the next person's room. But if you don't follow the rules, it's gonna seem like one is greater than the other. Go ahead, Shamisha.
I'm trying to wrap my head around the distinction between compounding when you first start and doing doing things in the wrong direction.
Absolutely. You can't put salt in your dish and make it taste amazing by itself, right? But you also can't remove the salt and it tastes amazing by itself, right? Compounding is an element with you have to serve, you have to lower that ego, you have to create a feedback loop, right? And you have to have and all this comes out of compounding, by the way, which we'll get into in a second. So just stay with me a second. Next slide. Okay.
The most visible. Oh, were you going to say something?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. The most visible form of compounding is compound interest. When the interest on a sum of money, if reinvested and untouched, goes on to its self-earned interest.
So, by the way, what's the word untouched? Okay. Your investment is not your vacation money. Your investment is not your car upgrade money. Your investment is not your red bottoms money. Your investment is not those purses men and women wear. That should be killing me. I'm sorry. I'm from a different generation. I'm diverse. Anyway, but the investment is a situation where that money. So let me explain it to you why this is important. When your business starts to grow, my bottom 20% investment. I'm not going to touch that money anyway. Why is that money sitting somewhere where it's not drawing any interest or any growth? You can have safer investments. You have aggressive. I'm not going to get into that space. That's illegal. I'm not doing that, right? That's your responsibility to learn about investments because there's some risk. Now, we can have a conversation offline, but I got to explain to you that's your responsibility. But investment is a requirement. In that investment process, your bottom 20%, once you start making money, at the end of the year, every year, bottom 20%, I'm dropping it in my investments. Right? Let that money generate money while your base money is safe and you have some contingency built into that. I'm not going to say, well, last year I only spent $300,000, so I'm going to save $300,000. Let's say last year you spent $300,000, then put $600,000 to the side, and then take that other $200,000 and drop it in your investment account. You see what I just did with that? Or $100,000 investment account. But what you don't want to do is leave all that fucking money sitting in some checking account. If you're saving personal money, take your bottom 20%. And with most investment account, you get like a 1 or 2 weeks before you can retrieve your money back, right? But you should be investing. And when you invest that money, it is not meant for you to just keep tapping it, okay? Because if you keep tapping it, compounding force doesn't work. Keep going.
This means the total sum of money grows faster and faster like a snowball rolling down a hill. Even a small amount of money can compound into a fortune over a long enough time span.
So what you also feel is just, if you come from scarcity, poor family, you know how weird it's going to feel to have money sitting somewhere that you can't touch?
Yes.
Your brain's going to say, well, damn, I do got 100, 200, 300, 400, $500,000 sitting over here. I mean, shit, I should touch it sometime just so I can feel good about it. No, don't touch it. But trust me, I'm telling you what my brain talks to me all the time. My brain be like, damn, none of you know, shit, bro, well, I mean, you kind of want to bathe in this shit sometimes. Something, shit, come on, I can't touch it? No, you can't touch it. There's a certain point I'm going to release it, but until that time happens, I can't have the compounding effect until you don't. Look, my interest makes more than most of y'all make a year by yourself. That's just amazing to watch. My lowest account makes about $3,500 a month. That's my lowest account. $3,500 a month. I mean, $3,500 a year. That means like somebody just give you, here's $3,500 at the end of the year. Now, next year it's going to get larger and larger because it's compound. Takes $3,500 and it's on top of the $3,500 you earn, removing the taxes / what you already had in there, and it continues to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. You see where I'm going with this? But it speeds up where? In the end. So it won't be. You don't get to brag about it. It's not gonna be sexy in the conversation. Yeah, fool. You know, last week I just made. You know what I'm saying? I just made $100. Where y'all go? No one cares. This game is not sexy until it is. When it's sexy, it's sexy. But when it's not, it's not. There's nothing. Matter of fact, compounding is so cold when you get there, it's going to shock the fuck out of you. You be like, wow, is this like you don't feel like you stole money from somebody. Because it's going to land so cold on you because when it starts to speed up, it's going to become intoxicating. Trust me when I say this. When that shit speeds up, it's almost unimaginable. Go ahead. Next slide?
Yeah.
Get next slide.
Play iterated games. All the returns in life, whether in wealth, relationships, or knowledge, come from compound interest.
Say that again.
Play iterated games. All the returns.
Wait, was that word all?
All.
Did it say all the returns? Janelle, you know, I'm getting older now. My eyes are just betraying me, my ears sometimes. Did that word say all? God damn.
All interest matters.
Josh, you're Jewish, got a Jewish background. Is it all or sometimes?
Every single bit of it.
All the returns in life, go ahead.
Whether in wealth,
Wealth?
relationship,
Uh-huh.
or knowledge,
Uh-huh.
come from compound interest.
You know what kills me? Let's go back into like disrupting the rhythm. College graduation. Cats graduate college and destroy the rhythm. What do they lose? The returns. I'm going to share something with you guys that most people would never know. I would PhDs, Stanford, Penn, Cal, even Harvard ass in business all the time. You know why? Nobody reads anymore. Compounding interest falls apart. People come out of college and they ready to go. They like engines with the biggest motor you've ever seen, ready to go. And then they look like Charles Barkley, lazy and fat and sloppy. They stop putting the work in. This is why a lot of you have degrees and not getting a life that goes with your degree. You disrupted the process. If you just stayed practicing, had your own ritual just to practice, you smoke everybody around you. Don't ever assume you know enough. There's no such thing. There is no destination in learning. Learning is a continuum. What college is supposed to do is help you learn, how to enhance your learning skills, give you relationships to actually benefit from some of your learning skills, right? But learning is a lifelong commitment. You get in this business game, don't think you're going to learn something to make you good. That's why I hate those questions. What can you tell me? Another motherfucking thing. There's no one thing I can tell you. What I can tell you is start reading more. Even if you start reading the little soft pop books, eventually you will realize they pop books and you will graduate. But you have to join groups, stay connected to other people. Let's keep going. All things. Go ahead.
In the same way that money compounds and grows by earning interest, debt can compound too, even to the point where it becomes essentially impossible to pay off.
So black people, keep going. I'm gonna before I jump in this, keep going.
Many people who get into debt fail to realize just how powerful compounding can be over time.
So remember, offensive, defensive side of compounding. That's a negative side of compounding. That debt can move so fast on you, paying minimum payments. Look, if you have a $10,000 credit card, but you ain't never had $10,000 in your account, don't you ever tap that $10,000 credit card. Don't spend past what you can handle. I have an 850 credit score. I don't fuck around. I lost my credit before. You know why? I came out of high school and I thought, oh, I guess somebody gave me some money? Y'all done fucked around and gave me a card. My first apartment, this is when everybody had rotary phones and push button phones, right? I had wireless phones in my first apartment, glass dining room tables, fancy ass televisions. I had a sexy bedroom. You understand me? You'll learn about that when you get a little older, young man. You understand me? And what happened was I fucked my credit all the way up. Then I fucked it up again. .com world, I'm popping. I'm making great. I will spend one check, and I'm talking about stunning. The other check, I just throw it in the account. And then that's the first .com crash. That first, I don't remember what it was, a little ways back. When that shit hit, credit went to trash. Basically, like, where's my payment? I said, I don't know, where is it? You know? And what happened was, my credit was messed up. I'm sharing y'all the progress of my story. Me messing my credit was the greatest thing that ever happened because when I first started fighting media, I had no credit. But I learned how to get things without credit. I was the king of dangling, hooking something, bartering, But I also had standards and ethics, so I never burned any bridges. But I was always fine. Hey, Craigslist and me, that's why today, if you want some shit on Craigslist, I can give y'all so much game. You be like, how? Like I just bought a new. So I have a surround theater in my back house, and so I wanted to upgrade my sound system to my theater. So I was like, I don't buy no new shit. I'm a 4. I don't have like 12 speakers. I only have 5. So I went on Craigslist. I picked up a system that was originally $2,000 for $400. That shit sounds so motherfucking good. But I'm the king of that shit. I'm the king of. My wife used to tell her grandparents, her parents called down like, he'll get you some shit for cheap, right? Because I did this shit for years. I didn't have no money, right? But also to this day, Fight to Be has no debt. Let me say this again. We're just making nothing but money right now. We're making money, right? So, but I built and designed a system. I had no money. So as soon as I got my first $30,000 check, this was about 7 years ago, I called all the people I owe money and say, listen, I know I owe you 10. You take 2? I know I owe you 20. You take 2? Now, mind you, they've been chasing me for 7, 8 years. They already knew they was going to get it, right? And sold this debt to so many different people. The people calling me right now speak Indian. Now, they don't even talk English no more, right? So, you going to take the 2? All right, no, we take the 2. Right? so, fine, all right? I gave everybody a 2, right? First year and a half, my credit was just slowly making progress. But the lesson I learned was, don't spend it if you don't have it. So now, when we use our business, we have 2 business credit cards that are over $160,000, right? What I do is the money I want to spend already, I just use the cards to spend for it. When I spend for that, I get the cash back on billboards and campaigns and all kind of shit. You know how much vacation money I got? Mm-hmm. Ask now, does he have a personal credit card in his pocket? Will I take one? Have y'all seen the new Macy's credit card? 38% interest.
Ooh.
I saw the paperwork, and damn near had to go get my asthma spray. I couldn't believe it. It was ridiculous. Fucking ridiculous. Now, y'all who engage in this game of paying credit cards, Some of you guys are suffering under the weight of compounding. This is why they give you credit card. This is why they send you $500 and give you a credit card. You know what the fuck they doing? They hate me. They love you. I don't give them shit. Matter of fact, I look at interest rates on anything I do. When I'm talking about, I do my math so fucking fast, it'll make your head spin. When I got my car, every car I ever purchased has been under 2-3% interest. What? 10, 7, 5, 8? Man, you got me fucked up. I need free money. I need low money. And I need to save money. The game is save money, make money, spend little money. So this interest thing is such an invisible thing that it will weight you, because my first credit cards, I thought, I could pay this off. And then the weight got so heavy to the point I wasn't eating to pay these payments, and they weren't dropping at all. Because I was unstuck under the compounded weight of the force of compounding. Let's go.
Compounding is a crucial, versatile mental model to understand because it shows us that we can realize enormous gains through incremental efforts over time.
Did the court say that we can realize enormous gains through incremental
Gains
over time?
Efforts over time.
Efforts over the efforts. The key word he used was, did you hear that word? Efforts. Pay attention to that. Incremental efforts over time. Well, look, okay. See, Ryan, you young. Shakina, you young. Okay, rest of y'all full ass. Okay, Josiah, you young. That's it. Rest of y'all grown folks. But I don't give a fuck. Look here. Play that illusion on your goddamn time. I'm trying to teach class right now. Now calm your ass down. Now this is just okay. So the rest of y'all, for the young folks, by default, if Shakina, Ryan, and Josiah just continue on this path, by default, they will be the head of their industries. By default, because your industry's dying off. And you're the up and coming, and you're the leader, and you're the most seasoned one, and you're compounding your growth. Now slow your compounding down, and a new person will snatch your position. So that's that simple. It's a simple fucking equation. Now for the older folks, you can compound as well, but you got to speed that process up a little bit. That's why the group you're around, the people you hang out, you have to almost make sure you have to really have a fine-tuned rhythm. For the younger person, you got a little bit more flexibility in your rhythm. All right, let's keep rolling.
It forces us to start thinking long-term because the effects of compounding are only remarkable on a long timeline. Mm-hmm. And most of the gains are realized near the end. Mm-hmm. Money isn't the only thing that compounds. Everything from knowledge to relationships has the ability to grow exponentially if we keep adding to it and reinvesting the returns.
How many times do you see people get divorced because they stop reinvesting in a relationship? How many people got badass kids because they don't invest in their children? They do it sporadically. I took my kids to Disneyland and you ain't fucked with them since. Drop their ass off of school, pick them up, go to bed. Mom, I'm sick, go to bed. Mom, I'm hungry. I say go to bed. All right, next slide. Poor parenting. By the way, too, if anybody's online can hear my voice, if you brought a child into this world and you're not paying child support, fuck you. Next slide. Go ahead, finish the slide. Go ahead.
Exponential functions are hard to envision. So it's no wonder we tend to underestimate the power of compounding.
There you go. So we underestimate it all the time. Go ahead.
We're used to thinking in terms of linear dynamics, but compounding is non-linear.
It's non-linear. So your brain always wants to think about, can I fuck with y'all on linear for a second? You were born in a poor household. It's going to be strong what I'm about to say. And you say to yourself, I don't want my child to have the same experiences. You send them to the best schools. You raise them by your highest middle class standards. And because life is not linear, they become fuck ups. Black people could do everything right tomorrow and still die. Or we could fuck up and things can go well. Because nothing's linear. You know, if you say, if black people just had this one thing, we'd be okay. That's not true. It's not linear. If I just do this one thing in my life's going, it's not linear. The more we understand it, I'm going to teach later on how to to capitalize on that in 2 classes out. I'm gonna get into that, how to capitalize on a world that's not linear and it's so random that. But a lot of the stories, the only thing that's linear about this life is the stories we tell ourselves, and some of us anchor ourselves in the wrong strategy because we get caught in these linear perceptions of how the world works, and we're building all these ideas around these anchored straight lines, and in the end, we're playing the wrong game. Once you realize life has all these different curves, distributions, and long tails and short tails, and all these S curves and all that kind of shit like this, you'll realize, oh, I am really a human in God's world, just trying to participate. Once you understand that, and the servant gets rewarded the best. Isn't that cold? Like the Bible's been teaching all this time, but we were just too hood to hear it. Yeah, I wish somebody would slap me on the cheek. I'm not gonna fuck it up. I ain't turn no face. Anyway, go ahead. Let's go.
Of course, other forms of compounding are not literal. And it's not like we can use a formula to calculate how something like knowledge built upon itself.
You cannot. So here's the thing: calculating compounding in a constant changing world is close to impossible. You just gotta know it exists. It's one of those formulas like planting the seed. You gotta know that element is part of the game. And if you don't know that element is part of the game, and you just assume it's not part of the game, you're gonna be missing one of the major ingredients, meaning that you have a purple thumb as an entrepreneur. Keep going.
But we can use the concept as a metaphorical lens for thinking about how things grow.
That's the key word. You can use it as a metaphorical lens of thinking how things grow. Look. Side note, scaling. Stay with me. Scaling. Hip hop is beginning a great beginning. I don't know about y'all, but it's a great beginning, right? Black people just trying to get their voice heard. New York was poor as fuck. People didn't have no food, prostitution of little girls, all kind of horrible shit was happening in New York. So black people use hip hop to, one, create not only industries and to actually help to soothe themselves as they're going through shit, but also let the world know that they existed, right? Okay. But the rule of scaling says that when scaling happens, because it's not linear, it has a tipping point. And what can start off positive can go negative. What can start off negative can go positive. Because there's no linear in scaling. Scaling is like such a code. There's so many rules of scaling. If you don't know these rules of scaling, you can get caught in popular beliefs that are non-scalable. So somebody can have a horrible beginning and have positive outcomes. Some can have a positive beginning and have horrible outcomes. This is important to know because if you don't know that, there's a certain point when something reaches a certain point, it's called a tipping point. Or they can also call it the networking effect. When it reaches a certain size, it changes its value. Let's say you live in a city where I'm bringing good employees in, so good businesses will come to my city. That sounds great, right? Great, we got a beautiful city. But at a certain point when it gets to a certain number, the networking effect has the opposite effect. Because now you got too many people, too many and the businesses, and now transportation, access to stuff, a clusterfuck, right? So in scaling, a lot of times when we tell these romantic stories of the beginning, the middle, and the end, that is good storytelling. The reality is that scaling says, it may not work that way. Or something that's irrelevant by small actions can become the greatest thing in the room if you don't understand compounding. Let's roll. Okay, next slide. Okay, here you go.
In a process akin to money compounding, the impact of decisions we make early on in any endeavor grow in their impact over time. They can have a greater impact than decisions made later on because their consequences compound. For instance, imagine a new graduate who takes a job that is disconnected from their true interests.
Pay attention to this. This is so cold.
It might seem like a temporary, harmless choice, but it increases the chances the next job they get will be in the same area. The more experience they accrue, the better they're likely to be, and therefore, they know it. switching is a challenge. And before they know it, switching is a challenge. It's important to consider how the consequences of our choices can multiply over time.
Okay, so let me talk about choice compounding. When Shakina first started her business, she came to me about she wanted to do 2 or 3 different things. I said, hey, start one business. Don't do multiple things. Because if one of those things take off that you don't want to do, you can get stuck in that shit. You come out of college, you take this little simple ass job at a fast food because I should get paid some bills. And before you know it, that becomes your experience because you've been doing this shit for 7 years, and nobody's gonna hire you for what you went to college for. They don't hire you for being the top chef, top cook, or the best, fastest burger flipper at McDonald's, right? You gotta pay attention to small choices. Let me explain to you what that means, because I need y'all to understand how that works in the real world. This sounds good in theory, but once you put it on the ground where the chickens can get at it, it's really a cold fucking thing. If you're around me, I can seem petty sometimes because I see compounding. You're like, no, why are you tripping? That's just really small. Why you being over analytical? I went with me and Court and Mashama, T. Pratt, Pastor Chris, go on a retreat. And some subject came up, and I started to address the subject. And they looked at me like, dude, seems really micro petty. I'm understanding when I'm bringing this up, I'm not looking at what it is today. I'm saying that that idea attaches to that idea and that expands, you become something you don't want to become. And it's small. You realize you ever been, when I was growing up, people say, Donnie, you're so analytical. You ever been called that analytical? You have to be analytical to avoid the effects of small compounding, because you have to start seeing how does a small thing attach to this, attach to this, attach to this, it becomes this, right? Do you think a person who's a junkie, a prostitute, or doing a long term in jail made one choice? Or was it small choices that compounded towards a negative? This here will make you seem petty when you're around people who are not growing. So what does that mean for me? That means I don't talk a certain way around people who are not scaling. So if I'm talking to Court, I may go as micro as I want to go, because I'm talking about possible things that can grow into something bigger that can cause him losses down the road. It can sound really small. We had a conversation about something a couple of weeks ago about something that seems really small, really petty, that we know, hey, we need to call this person because it can grow into this here and destroy everything that person is working on. Everything, right? Once something small gets out of control, it's like a wildfire. It starts to grow so fast, you can't even gain control. Before you know, your life is weighted by small decisions over here that seem petty. So you have to have people around you that have the antennas, the frequency to say, hey, no, whoa. Why'd you say it that way? We're not playing the right versus wrong game. We're not playing the other game. If he's scaling and I'm scaling, I need him to hear me a certain kind of way. I need him to be able to translate what I'm saying. But if you're not scaling, if you look at just a regular, the social world that we live in, people let small shit go all the time. Just, don't be so pale. Don't trip. Just let me be. Oh my God, why can't I shine? That's not a scaling culture. The 80-20 rule. Only a small portion of the world are going to run shit. So if you're trying to be part of that small portion, but you hang out with the masses, you're betraying yourself. Doesn't mean you can't hang out with them and love them and spend some time with them in certain ways. I'm talking about people that you get to have those deeper dialogues about what you're going to do next or the challenges you're having every day. You need a certain quality person surrounding you. Now, you can have, after those people, once you have that core, you can have loved ones. Like on Thanksgiving, nobody in my house is those people. If I start to speak on stuff I see, they would hate me. But if I'm with Mashama, Cord, Pastor Chris, T. Pratt, I'm going to have that even Shabisha, very detailed micro dialogue. Matter of fact, that's how Shabisha talks. If you ever talk to Shabisha, she'll point out like, yeah, I see you built the fence, but why that nail? It got me fucked up, but why that nail? And you might say, oh, that's no big thing. But what happens when the weight falls on top of that building and that nail's a problem? See? Keep going. Have we finished this one?
Yes.
Next slide. You won't know the payoffs. So even when you're compounding, you're doing everything right, you won't know the pay. This universe is not. This is why I hate self-help. Self-help tries to make it like everything is a guaranteed 5 steps to success. No, it doesn't work that way. And let's say you get to a certain point where you make that money, you might decide not to buy the house. You might decide to invest. You might decide you won't put your child through college. You might decide, fuck it, I'm just going to travel and give up my house. You don't. What you think in the beginning when you start your business or any form of compounding is not a linear destination. You don't get to predict the destination because remember, as a human being, the most powerful tool you have is being adaptable. So as you adapt it, you change courses so many fucking times. Just know that. But it doesn't mean that you surrender compounding. This is important because as those courses change, okay, if you don't know how to protect certain courses in your life and you keep responding to changes with justification, then you don't be surprised you've been going in circles your whole fucking life. You gotta keep some things moving straight. But I mean like moving in a certain direction. In that direction, he's going to do this and go and do this. But in the end, I'm still going that direction, right? But some of us go this way, and then we go this way, and then we go back behind us, and we around this, and we back where we started next 6 years later. We ain't really went nowhere. Because you got to be able to say, I'm going in that direction. Now, I may pivot and go to the left, I may pivot and go to the right, I may go up, I may go lower. But whatever I'm going that way. But I'm never going to go straight. Straight is never going to happen. Next slide.
When we invest in things that compound, we don't always know how we will be able to leverage our compounding interest.
There you go.
Think of investing your money.
Mm-hmm.
If you know how much you will put into an account and the interest rate under which it will accrue, you can estimate how much money will be in your account in 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
What you cannot predict is what you will be able to do with that money.
Mm-hmm.
At the outset, you may imagine you'll buy yourself your dream home.
Mm-hmm.
But 20 years from now, you might leverage the money to make a different career choice.
Mm-hmm.
The security of having it in the bank might mean that you can take bigger risks.
That's
to
it right
pursue your
there.
dream.
When you build savings, you take bigger risk, you achieve bigger goals. You have no savings, you take small risk, you achieve smaller goals. That's why savings is important. Savings is not important like for those rainy, stop thinking like you in corporate America and you talking about retirement. That shit ain't how we talk. You create savings to move differently. Matter of fact, you cold-blooded when you get fuck you money. None of you have to do this, fuck you, I'll pay for it. It's fuck you money. There are opportunities that will hit your city that will give you huge hype cycles. Hype cycles are really investments. They're not. For example, we've hit hype cycles, and I saved all that money and invest and allow myself to exploit the slow cycles. You see what happened? So in the investment in the slow cycles, the next time it take off, I'm moving twice as fast, and then it slows down again. And I make those investments, right? But my savings empower me to make choices and make moves. But if you take the hype cycles that you don't save, when slow times happen, you're locked up in your choices. Savings is an enabler. It's not for safety. It's for mobility and risk taking. Right? You guys get that shit? That's so cool. Like, has anybody talked to you about savings like that? You just talk about savings as, hey, just, rainy days and, buy your family a house and take care of the kids. And what if you get hurt or something? You need to have savings. How many people can you say, no, if you want to play like big dog in the game, save. Save allows you to move differently. It allows you to invest. It allows you to have different kind of friends that talk to you differently. You're valued in the market differently. If you're sitting in $10 million in the bank, you're talking to different people about different shit. You're sitting with $10 in the bank, you're talking to different people about different shit. You get me? Savings is a mobility thing. It's a velocity thing. Next slide. We leaving here in 10 minutes. We're going to end in 10 minutes because they're closing that bridge at 10. And the class usually ends at 9:15. I'm going to be 9:15 short because I'm not driving around this motherfucking city to get out of here. I'm going straight to that tunnel, going home because I got to get up early tomorrow morning to get some shit. Next slide. Oh, you hit that slide already? Yeah, good. Let's go.
Okay. Small investments over time in areas like relationships or learning have immediate benefit, which is usually what prompts us to undertake the initial commitment. But one of the most fascinating properties of using compounding as a lens is that it illuminates how investments now can give us opportunities later that we can't even imagine now.
Pause. This is the coolest shit in the world. Your imagination and your thinking is limited to what you know right now. I don't understand how you're gonna be in business and you're not learning at all times. If you don't have a ritual of constantly growing and practicing, growing and practicing, growing and practicing, you're gonna hit certain obstacles. They're gonna feel like an insurmountable wall. You'll be like, "Oh my God, that wall's so big. Oh my God, I can't." Or you might even say, systemic racism has not allowed us. All that is lack of learning. That's all it is. That's all the fuck it is. If you compound your educational growth, at some point, it won't even be a molehill. It'd be a pebble on the ground. That's your growth that changes your obstacles. Your obstacle is a lack of growth. I know that shit sounds crazy, and you can't imagine it. I'm telling you, like the kind of money I'm making today was unimaginable, and it still somewhat freaks me out. There's checks that will come to my office and be like, somebody gonna take this shit from me. This can't be real. Because I'm being rewarded for compounding. I'm not being rewarded for smart. I'm not rewarded for being better. I'm not being rewarded for being chosen. I'm not being rewarded because, I'm accused of motherfucker. That's not, I'm subjective. I gotta believe what I want to believe. But I'm not rewarded for none of those things. I'm being rewarded because of compounding. If you ever talk to me, I tell you an hour and a half a day, right? When I teach this class, let me tell you what's so dope about teaching this class. The greatest benefit, this is why I don't give a fuck about getting paid for this class. I don't give a shit. What made me want to teach this class because I love my people, 100%. No other fucking reason. But it came with benefits, you understand me? And the benefit is this, that me simplifying these complexities allow me to use it even more effectively with others. Meaning I make my team stronger. I work with my client in different ways. I'm able to describe certain things and have certain conversations I couldn't have before, which then allows me to have access to resources I couldn't have before. So I can be watching the media and somebody be like, "Oh, this is stopping black people." I'm like, "It's stopping you. It's not stopping me. If I want that, I can get that. Because I've compounded to a point I can reach that." And there's certain things right now I go, I can't reach that right now. Let me just stay in this game a little bit longer. I get it. You see, this is how powerful. So that's why I don't like limiting dialogue, because limiting dialogue is making you feel comfortable experiencing where you are, not realizing where you are is just a passing, it's not meant to be permanent. If you're compounding, you're designed to go past that. The only reason white folks got African folks in a certain space is a compounding difference. You were suppressed for 400 years. Meaning that when you said, "Ooh," they say, "Shut the fuck up. Ain't no ooh for you." Right? Then when they say, "Okay, you know what? All right, 60s and shit, go ahead, y'all free." You're behind the game. That means you got work to, no, you don't get a decade and you in the game. You don't get 2 decades, you in the game. You have to have a consistent building, because let me explain to you, freedom is so hard and expensive if you have to buy, it's unimaginable. Freedom. Do you realize in 1970, white folks gave you Oakland? They called it segregation, but that's what they did. They gave you Oakland. They said, "We're going to take our shit, we out, it's your shit." We said, hey, it's segregation, come on back. Come on, hold up. Fuck, what the fuck, what you said? Come on, do some jobs. Come on, fuck back. It's not, we weren't flawed, we were suppressed. So you're suppressed, I give you freedom. Guess what you'll do? You'll move from your point of your evolution, of your compounding. What black folks have to learn is that we have to catch a rhythm and keep it going. And over time, some of these things that we like, "Oh my God, the police," that's not really an issue. "Oh my God," that's not a really issue. It's when we lose our rhythm. So when I say hip hop is trash, pay attention to our rhythm and you'll catch my fucking point. Because the kids and the poverty has told us that somehow we flipped it upside down. So the thing that used to be, we gotta get from here to here, now this is here. Is that shit got y'all fucked up at all? And so in the end, we're slowing the compounding down, which is dangerous for anybody. So that's why it's important to stop focusing on the challenges of the world around you and focus on your growth, which allows you to have the power to take on those challenges and become great. That's the game. Like, you don't get to tell another man stop what you're doing that's benefiting you. No, you gotta outpower, you gotta outmove it, you gotta outmaneuver that person. That's it. Ain't nobody supposed to be like, you know what, Nana said it's fucked up what we're doing, so we're gonna stop. He may stop, but his children be like, fuck that, we're going back and get those grapes. Fuck that, it's on him. He won't be drinking coffee, we're gonna take these grapes. Oh man, them white man ain't never let me get no grapes. He ain't supposed to. See, he came from aristocracy and he came from a fucked up place. So he got a little trauma of his own. He's like, man, I ain't giving this shit up. I don't give a fuck. Fuck you, your mama, your cousin, your uncles. If you ain't my direct blood link, fuck you. Because I don't think all rich people, white people are rich. Not all white people are strong. Not all white people got power. What you have to learn is that compounding makes this. So then what we did is we didn't understand the force of compounding and we changed the story to fit our narratives. This is why racism. So there's systemic racism in place that are causing more damage to black culture than prejudiced behavior. And as you pay attention, as we continue to change the script, now we so fucked up on the script. Now we're focused on what people say to us and what words they use, as opposed to legislation and laws and where the money is moving that's impacting our communities. Cold game. Let's finish this one up. We're almost done.
One example of how compounding knowledge creates options can be seen by looking at the long-term effects of Jewish education norms. In the chosen...
By the way, we're going to talk about Jews really heavy next class. We just finished this slide. We're going to stop here. But Jewish culture is so fucking dope. By the way, Josh, it's not a time for... Don't not wear a special outfit next week. It's not a celebration of you. Because you're Jewish, it's not your time to shine.
Except Josh. Except Josh. Josh ain't dope. Josh ain't dope.
No, Josh. Look at look. Look. We're not doing that today, okay? We're not doing that part of the Jewish culture, okay? Let's do this real quick. But Jewish culture, dope as fuck. And I know some of y'all, the Palestinians, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you pay attention to the story, you can also see it happening in the Indian culture. You can see it happen in West African culture. You can see it happening in Chinese culture. You can see it happening all around us. You can almost see who the new power groups are going to be 30, 40 years from now if you understand compounding. If you don't understand compounding, you'll be walking down a do, and also your supervisor is Ghanaian. It's just how it's going to happen. Go ahead.
In The Chosen Few, Maristella Bodicini and Zvi Eckstein trace the role of education in the Jewish religion and show how it was an investment that gave the Jewish people incredible opportunities. In the first century of the Common Era, Jewish scholars and religious leaders issued a religious ordinance requiring all Jewish fathers to send their sons from the age of 6 or 7 to primary school to learn how to read and study the Torah in Hebrew. Throughout the first millennium, no people other than the Jews had a norm requiring fathers to educate their sons.
Peep that game. Go ahead. I know you.
Hey, and this was during the agricultural age. So everybody was eating off farming. You didn't need to know fucking math and shit because everybody was eating off farming. So that's what makes this even colder. Anyway.
Like this is so, they're 100% correct. 100%. This is so cold that, okay, so first of all, envy blinds us from seeing people who are performing at high levels. We can't see it. We just can't. Envy makes you almost hate people because what you say to yourself is that if you're successful, what does that mean about me? And then you're offended by other people becoming successful. This is why when when stories have come out about Jay-Z or P. Diddy, I'm not saying they did or didn't do it. I don't know how to trust it because I know envy's in that. Envy's is a hidden monster in those conversations. Once again, I don't know them to even speak on anything that's inappropriate. I'm saying I can't trust any form of report coming from anybody because I don't know if the envy is like a hidden, it's like COVID. When it hits your body, you don't see it coming. It hits you, it will corrupt your interpretation of your surroundings. So imagine Jewish people taking off and economically being positioned better than everybody else during a time when the average person was almost a peasant, no matter what race they were. Imagine them controlling resources all of a sudden and having financial, and all of a sudden people come up with stories. Oh, the gods, they're evil people, they're destructive, why they're fucking human beings that just compounded. That's it. Once you understand this compounding game, like okay, if this ain't giving you, we won't jump deeper into this because trust me, these next 3 weeks, I'm gonna hit y'all with some shit that I'm trying to knock your feet off from underneath you. But I'm planning on doing that through the whole year, but especially these next 3 weeks. Be careful of what you can't see. Just be careful. And be careful of good sounding stories. I think Steve Jobs says the most powerful person in the world is a storyteller. A lot of times we are summarizing because our brain is lazy, so our brain will take the stories over thinking all day long. That's what your brain is designed to do. Story, fuck it, that's easier than this thinking shit. I take it. And a lot of times we're assuming through how the world works through stories, not reality. I was talking to some people in politics who are deeply involved in the offices and positions of politics. And we're talking about different subjects. And as they started telling me all the moves of things that's happening and how the different interest groups are fighting for this and all these things, you would never see in the media. You would never see on the streets. You would never see through observation. Right? And then it's easy to assume, oh, these people are evil, dumb, stupid. No, none of the above. You just can't see all the plays. So even with Palestinian and Jewish war, people from America, shut the fuck up. Analyze it, learn from it, try to understand it. Russia and Ukraine, shut the fuck up. Just learn from the shit. If you ain't been in a war, like, it kills me how people get mad. Like, have you been in a war before? You realize, like, I think this, for the younger people, and the somewhat younger people, and those who aspire to be younger people.
Okay.
World War I and World War II, 130 million people died in those two wars. 130 million people. America emptied its cities out of all the males were gone out of cities. Like cities were like, no more males left. Were sent to war. How in the fuck is your coffee drinking cafe ass in the morning able to analyze that? And then when the war, like I think when the Jewish Palestinian war was up to 35,000 people. The Ukraine-Russian war was at 500,000. Like you just don't like. I'm not saying I care about all people who die. I don't like to see people die, especially kids. That shit that eats me up deep inside. I'm a father. I don't want to see nobody lose a child. Nobody, right? I don't like seeing war. But what I realize is that. And I'm not pro nobody's death. Nobody's death, right? I mean, whether it's the innocent kids who's having a peace fucking conference and somebody just kill them, wow, right? Or whether somebody at home just selling food on the corner and bum lands on them. Both of those make me sick, right? But I'm not equipped to fully understand it from my space of storytelling and assumptions. If you want to learn about war, learn about war. You want to learn about strategy, learn about strategy. Read the Jewish history, read the Palestinian history. Read those history, learn about learn context. You will never understand. Do you realize that you can't even learn history because history is a result of randomness? History, if you heard me talking slang in East Oakland and you try to interpret it by American English, you don't know what the fuck I just said. So when books are written and you don't have context of the language, you still know what the fuck you just read. So at the end of the day, let's slow the fuck down a little bit. Let's just slow it down a little bit. Let's play this curiosity game a little bit more. Let's slow the storytelling down a little bit more. And I promise you, this is a necessary rhythm for this game you're about to play because in my last point, what got you here won't get you here. So all your assumptions here are not qualified to get you here. As they say in Brazil, I'll see you a little bit later. Peace. I'm out.